I could request all of us to settle down as our protocol starts. We will start with Navcharan Gayatri Mahasadhana. And I request Adani Soloji to kindly come and take us through the Om Namah Shivaya Kirno. So we begin our Navcharan Gayatri Mahasadhana. The divine epoch-making moment has arrived. With the blessings of Param Pujniya Rashtra Rishi Lahiri Gurudev Ji, Global Wealth Creation, the CEI Global Wealth Creation Summit begins today at the National Stock Exchange of Hedge. This is not merely an event. It is the beginning of a new era where wealth, wisdom, and world transformation manifests as another dimension of Guruji's Brahma Rishi Tattva. Today, Guruji is blessing the world with a new blueprint for divine mechanism of infinite wealth creation through structural intelligence Mahasadhana. Welcome everyone. I request everyone to join us for the lamp lighting.
Very beautiful and a packed agenda. Again, there are 6 sessions. Each session is about a very different dimension of what we have learned and been inspired by Param Pujniya Gurudev Ji, Rashtra Rishi Srila. And each dimension shows us our infinite potential. It shows what Bharat's infinite potential is. And none of this is theory. What you will see is how far things have evolved. Is just we have not got. This is an opportunity for us to catch up or be left back, right? Now, as Guruji said that, guided us that, and I'll tell you, so many people tried to be part of this ecosystem. See, anyone who's online, anyone who's in person, has divinity in them, right? Unrealized divinity, if we call it. And what we will go through is a collective journey. And the intention is, this is not CEI Global Wealth Creation Summit, is intended to be the Samutra Manthan, which are in every one of our lives, every industry, every sector in the world. Now, as the West declines, the energy shifting to global south. But there's nothing at a global level from a geo-economic, geopolitics, military strategy, technology, insights, wealth creation. There's literally no ecosystem anywhere in the world that has the gravitas, the understanding, the technology, the underlying infrastructure, the rails, anything and everything needed for us to survive what is to come. So we'll hear a lot about first what will transpire and what are the avenues where we will go. Now we will start by a divine brief discourse for the CEI Summit from Kalpavriksh and Rashtra Rishi, right, Guruji?
Om Namah Shivaya to all the divine souls and the quantum leaders who have gathered today on this auspicious summit of CEI Global Wealth Creation Summit, where infinite wealth creation meets spirituality, where innovation meets holistic empowerment for the most disenfranchised. Today's summit is the Turing moment of 21st century. As the evolution of consciousness as the evolution of the quest of human intelligence to actualize the infinite within themselves has progressed over last 200,000 years, from mankind realizing that if they cook their food, it saves energy to chew the food, thereby requiring less powerful jaws, thereby allowing more space for human brain to evolve. From that moment, converged with the discovery of the utilities of fire and how to tame it, to the discovery of utility of stone tools, to various ages like Iron Age, Bronze Age, Copper Age, to realization that if we tame the nature through agriculture, we will have much more time to invest in productive activities rather than waste chasing food all the time. And from that moment to steam engine, to silicon, to AI, to this moment, when structural intelligence is about to revolutionize the world, this summit gives you the perfect opportunity to board the evolutionary train that is going to redefine the new world order. Next 10 years, from 2026 to 2036, will be the defining decade of chaos and restructuring. Old ways fading away, better ways manifesting themselves. Human intelligence learning to evolve out of its human limitations through the usage of advanced technology rooted in structural intelligence. This is an unprecedented era of chaos and creation, of nadir and zenith. This CEI Global Wealth Creation Summit creates the perfect ecosystem to dwell upon those advanced technologies that is going to define the next 10,000 years of human evolution out of this decade of chaos, disruption, restructuring, reinvention, and re-self-realization. With utmost divine blessings channelized upon you, Guruji welcomes and blesses all the quantum leaders who have gathered today in this auspicious summit, on this auspicious occasion, in this specific divinely ordained venue, to become the thought leadership, the innovation leadership, the entrepreneurial leadership, the divine leadership, to define next 10,000 years of spiritual utopia, holistic empowerment, true equality, self-actualization, and God realization. The divine energies truly wish you all the best. Om Namah Shivaya.
And we all have heard Guruji had what? Guruji's vision and the blessings that we are so blessed to be exposed to. Because what we are discussing today is going to define the next 10,000 years, is what we are all here for in the making of our quantum leadership, becoming empowering, not just that we inside the room are or the people online, but all of us together are here to empower thousands and thousands of youngsters who are going to be driving Bharat in the new era.
Om Namah Shivaya. Today, on 25th April 2026, we invite all the attendees for the CEI Global Wealth Creation Summit 2026. Now, only those are able to attend this summit who have the blessings of Bhagwan Shiv. जिन लोगों पर भगवान शिव की हिमालयन सनातन ऋषि संस्कृति की आशीर्वाद और कृपा बरसनी है, वही आज इसको अटेंड कर सकते हैं. एंड एज द ब्लेसिंग्स ऑफ द शिव, you are going to receive the divine Shiva Ved today. Along with the Shiva Ved, you are also going to receive the divine pain and the divine seeds. Now, what is divine Shiva Ved? Shiva Ved is the booklet which you are getting. This booklet has the divine Shri Chitra of Param Pujya Rashtra Rishi Shri Lahiri Guruji, Mahavatar Babaji and Yogiraj Lahiri Guruji. And this will be, and there are other pictures, other very powerful divine pictures also, and there is a space for writing also. Now this is a very, very powerful divine blessings of Rashtrishi Shri Lahiri Guruji as well as Bhagwan Shiv. And what is its importance? Now when you go to the Kailash Darshan, when you go to Kailash Darshan, you are walking barefoot for 15 days. You are doing all sorts of penance, and you are also doing upvas at the time. At the end of the 15 days, when you get darshan of the Kailash, then how you feel? You feel so blessed, so overwhelmed with joy, so overwhelmed with the blessing. And when you get the Shivling as a blessing at the time, how you feel it? Because the Shivling is a source of blessing, is a divine energy, and you keep it on your head, and you keep it on your mandir, on your Guru Mandir or mandir at your home, and become the source of blessings and divinity for your whole family. This Shiva Ved is equally important. This Shiva Ved is the same blessings and divinity from Bhagwan Shiv as at the Shivling. So this Shiva Ved should be kept at your temple at your house, and daily puja should be offered to it, and this will be a continuous source of divinity and blessing and positive energy for the whole family. Or along with this Shiva Ved, you are also getting the divine pain, right? And the divine seeds. And these divine seeds should be kept in a dabbi in your kitchen, or it can be sown in a kitchen garden or in your garden also. Now, this Shiva is a very individualized blessings to all the persons who are attending this, because at the just at the lotus feet of Param Pujya Guruji, your name is written by hand. Individual name is written by hand. It is such an individual, and this has the Shiva Urja. So जस्ट एक्सेप्ट द शिव ऊर्जा. उस शिव ऊर्जा को ग्रहण करके आप इस समिट में प्रवेश कीजिए. एंड परम पूज्य गुरु जी हैज गिवन ए स्पेशल ब्लेसिंग टू एवरीबडी हु इज द रेसिपिएंट ऑफ द शिव वेद, दैट टुडे, राइट, if you have any genuine hindrance, any genuine obstacle in your sadhana, in your spiritual life, or in your life in general, then if you pray to Guruji, Bhagwan Shiv, wholeheartedly with Shraddha, then miraculously that hindrance will be removed from your life. ये मिरेकल आपकी लाइफ में होना ही है, आप अगर श्रद्धा से गुरु जी को इस समिट के दौरान आप अगर प्रार्थना करते हैं और इस शिव ऊर्जा को धारण करके आप इस समिट में प्रवेश करें, एंड इस शिव वेद को, इट विल बी एटर्नल सोर्स ऑफ एनर्जी, ब्लेसिंग्स टू यू by the Himalayan order of Sanatan Rishi Sanskriti, which includes Bhagwan Shiv, Bhagwan Nandi, Mahavatar Babaji, Yogiraj Lahiri Mahashay, and परम पूज्य राष्ट्र श्री लाहिरी गुरु जी. इनका आशीर्वाद आप हमेशा रहेगा, and your whole family will be benefited by the divine blessings of the Himalayan order of Rishi ji. Om Namah Shivaya.
Very clear. The importance of ship gate and the Kalpavriksh seeds in the can given.
Gee, so see, we think you are here for tangible outcomes. I think there's a lot of intangibles that we are actually desperate for in our life, right? So I mean, so many of us here have had miracles. There is enough miracle. One such miracle I'd share with you is so there's one very senior gentleman from the steel industry, Dev supporter. So so this is the power of CEI summit. This is the power of what to be building. What Guruji doesn't come. So 31st of March. This gentleman, very senior in Mumbai, has committed Guru Rachana at Lotus Seat of Guruji, and so small amount of 25 lakhs. The share price, the total market cap of their organization was about 70,000 crores. Begin steel. This was the 31st of March 2026. 3 weeks. First of April, so जब intention है तो फटफट करके कभी भी. Now what happened is literally the next day, 1st of April 2026, the second of 25 lakhs per top count hit the CEI. So from that day, now the trajectory of the company growth began. In 3 weeks, the company, against market odds, has grown from 70,000 crores to 94,000 crores. $3 billion. 25,000 crores added to the market cap in a volatile market where everything is dropping. Does not matter how much effort we put in. None of the indexes here are for an average growth. This is SHIV. Again, it is a blessing only to those who are in the group, right? See, if we have to travel around the world for darshan, the Kailash will not come to us. We have to come to them, right? So everyone who chose to be here, right? So SHIV is a very divine instrument. One thing Guruji has guided us that whatever is holding you back in your life, not greed, but any real challenges that are truly holding you back, meditate on this SHIV before you go. Surrender it and see the way. Right. It is that powerful. This also guides us on the CEI empowered initiatives. Now, the divine pen that you have received, at the bottom of it, top of it, you will see there are some seeds. These are seeds for life to grow close to you. You've heard Kalpavriksh. Kalpavriksh is a divine blessing. If it's close to you, you prosper like crazy, right? It is recommended you plant these seeds in your home or in your garden. Nourish it, and as it nourishes and it grows, so will good health, safety, prosperity in your life. The who's who of the world, from hedge funds to wealth managers to billionaires, politicians, everyone in the world seeks guidance of good.
See, the superarching architecture is very simple. Between 2024 and 2044, you have to understand what is going to happen in these 20 years. These 20 years are the most consequential years ever witnessed in the history of mankind, for 3 fundamental reasons. After 1,000 years of tapasya, the divinity of Bharat is going to wake up and manifest itself. This world has seen many materialistic resurgence and renaissance. The resurgence and renaissance of Venice, Ottoman Empire, Spanish Armada, Portuguese Empire, Dutch East India Company, British East India Company, Pax Britannia, Pax Americana. From Roman Empire to American exceptionalism or American imperialism, you have seen a materialistic journey of empires, colonizers, crusaders. For the first time, mankind will witness in the living memory of 2000 years, the resurgence and renaissance, the waking up of a spiritual megapower that ushers in a spiritual golden age for humanity itself. And this all would have been accomplished by 2050 in totality. Now, if we break down this evolutionary trajectory, a 12-year of extremely tumultuous period has started from 14th of June 2024. It will last till 14th of June 2036. In these 12 years, there will be mega wars, pandemic level disease outbreak, climatic breakdown, natural disasters, extreme loss of human life, redrawing of country topographies. Many countries will cease to exist in their present form. There will be geographical and territorial expansion of Bharat in one of the most divine non-military spiritual manner with consensus. A new kind of economics based on spirituality will take root, powered by artificial intelligence and blockchain. Essentially geodesic blockchain AI, essentially structural intelligence.
Okay, so there are infinite purposes. There are 110 different posts that with Guruji are based on social media, all them for time. There are 86 plus videos stating the future, right? Now, the beauty is that while the whole world is running around clueless, we operate with 100% certainty, right? Now, we'll just give a bit of a glimpse of what Bharat looks like strategically, how the alignments are happening as Guruji guided. Next slide. See, Om Sarve Bhavatu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Ramaya Sarve Kaldrani Kushin Mark Kashito Kapakave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Who is a Hindu? Hindu is not a religion, it is a way of life. It is someone who has the purity to operate with selfless, egoless, fearless, desireless, cuffless. They are going to be empowered over this decade. Right. So now, if you see the West has been dominant for a very long period of time. So 7th Jan 2022, Guruji had referred me to make a shift to India because UK, Europe and US was going to decline super fast. Now, I've been, I run a Billionaires Club. I've been in the UK for 3 years. So imagining that UK, Europe, US will crash and crumble was impossible. Within the same year, by the end of 2022, UK was in a very bad state. Europe, very bad state. US, everything tried to come within. And China is facing an inevitable decline because of Daroga. Right? Nothing you can do that can say. So what is happening is again energy has moved to the global south. So the Indian Ocean is going to be Bharat is going to become a global power through the ocean as the ocean route. Right? 50%, 50+% of global trade used to run through the Indian Ocean. After 1,000 years of suppression, the Indian spirituality has risen. And ocean, and what it means not philosophically, investment perspective, in the next 15 years, the blue economy is going to deliver far more returns in engineering, deep sea, shallow sea, marine, shipping, logistics, such innovation than the world has seen in the last 60 years of space. Now, when we talk about ocean, we will also see many of you who are already subscribed to or seek the blessing of the secret list. Many of you who got the blessing of you know with great certainty which of these precision opportunities, which of these companies in the blue economy are going to rise as a mathematical guarantee, right? So while capital markets, unfortunately, globally, because of global turmoil, will struggle till 2032 or 2026, the ecosystem and those who seriously join this ecosystem will keep getting clear insights on where to focus and where not to focus. Right, next slide, please. Okay, so see, there are 5 countries. If you want to list, a lot of people are very desperate to go bankrupt, right? So just take it easy for them. What are the 5 countries that you happily invest in for your return, right? So Italy, Spain, Portugal, Dubai now, and there's one place which is Greece. However, Greece, we will talk a little later, as a blessing from Guruji. Because of the strategic nature, it can rise, but only through structured deals. Right? Next slide. And as I said, Bharat is the only power which has stronghold over oceanic choke points. Right? So 5, 6, 7 very powerful choke points are heavily influenced by Bharat. And that is, if you understand full back into history, our Guruji teaches us that the British Empire, the reason it was global is because the British Empire focused and had a strong grip on every choke point. So while we feel we don't know what is happening and Bharat is going through his resurgence, Bharat has actually established dominance over choke points. Every global leader which has ruled for centuries has done that. Bharat is in an inevitable position, but not Bhaktis, we have to understand. Right? Our journey is also happening. So this opportunity is for us to understand how we align. There are only 2 states about the future. Either you're aligned to the future or you're misaligned, which is helping you be aligned. Next slide. So again, as the energy and the food crisis takes shape, of course, see, all of us have this invincibility syndrome. Oh, it's not going to affect me. Well, what doesn't matter? Every person on this planet has already been hit by something which has just transpired 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. Right? So the energy crisis, Bharat, before entering this degree of global turmoil, has secured Bharat will still go through an energy resurgence, Atmanirbharta dependence. Bharat, as its alliance, different partners around the world, will secure energy that will boost manufacturing production, while the rest of the world struggles. Right? And it's only at one point will Bharat pick up their energy surplus. In collaboration with the Bharati alliance of countries, will benefit from this additional energy. So energy, we will also see some great examples of energy. It's not about going crazy and trying to set up more infrastructure. Structure intelligence will guide you how you can actually achieve far more with far less. So I would now like to invite a really, really good friend of mine and disciple, Guruji, other than Thomas. Thomas G is speaking from Beijing. Oh, sorry, is it Elizabeth Thomas G?
From here.
Yes. So, Thomas G, thank you for joining us. I know it is 3 a.m. where you are. So, it's very inspiring seeing your journey and how you are pivoting to be a force in the Earth Patriot space. I'll pass it over to you for your realization and what you would like to share with all. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya.
That's a guy. Maybe I'll share very briefly what I do. So I run a fund, and so we manage LPs that are billionaires in the US and also fund of funds in Europe. So in my daily work, every day we have to make decisions under uncertainty. For instance, we use AI to train strategies, and we also have analysts, and sometimes we may overthink and just keep building on strategies that's based on strategies that we don't fully understand. And with Guruji's guidance, he made me realize sometimes perhaps to not act we've already beat 99% of GPs. So it's not about constantly being busy, being occupied, and keep doing things. Sometimes just to pause or simply not do something is also crucial in order to achieve or conserve capital. And in the future to come, we also the investors in my network and myself, we may be investing in the range of billions, and so we do need guidance and also more clarity in the next 10 years, and helping these families preserve wealth, and also for fund managers like us to generate wealth. And so with that, I'm very grateful. Thanks even to Guruji and Gaurav, who introduced me to the community. And hope blessing goes to everyone in the Zoom and in person in Mumbai today. Om Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, Bambaji. I really, really appreciate it. And again, with Guruji, that's the conversations on to building a mega multi-asset ecosystem, pioneering to keep on the best in the world. Right. So see, each one of us everywhere is trying to find, we all try to find our protection. Right. As we look at everywhere, we are hoping that this is the place. Right. Each has a journey. You're hoping that this is a place where you find some or many of your answers. So next, I will invite Sindwani.
Because what money can do, only money can do. We cannot serve this humanity without money, without being wealthy. So I would say it is the divine responsibility of each one of us to be abundantly wealthy so that we are able to serve the humanity. See, whenever we work for a larger purpose, so we would attract divinity, energy, and the divine blessings. Money in the hands of good people would build a better Bharat. As we are talking about rising Bharat. Bharat as a superpower. So if the money gets into the hands of good people, it will build a better Bharat. And the reverse is also true. If money gets into the hands of people who are not spiritually aligned, okay, it is going to cause destruction. And we all are seeing what is happening around us. The destruction which we see in various, pockets of the continent, that is all for this reason. So, as Guru said, we are witnessing a reset of geopolitical power, reset of the topography, and reset of wealth. Who is going to get that wealth? Only those who are spiritually aligned. So, we all see the chaos outside, as I said. And during this chaos, as Guruji said, so this is going to be a time of chaos and creation. So while the chaos is happening, we create opportunities for creating are also happening. So in this tumultuous time, chaotic time, two things are important. One, we have to have a Raksha Kavach, because the way people are getting hit, the way industry and businesses are getting hit, we have to have the Raksha Kavach. And that Raksha Kavach will be available to us only where we are spiritually aligned. A second thing which is important is that we have to be spiritually aligned. To receive this 50 trillion which Lordji talked about, which is going to come into Bharat, are we spiritually aligned to see that well, to attract that well? I just take the example of the cricket match. Cricket match, well, there's a catch and ball is in the sky. The fielder who has to catch that ball has to first align himself to the falling ball, then only he'll be able to catch it. If the fielder is not spiritually, if it not is aligned to the ball, then they will drop the catch. And the same is true with us as well. When the wealth is flowing into Bharat, are we spiritually aligned to see that wealth? So the theme of the summit, wealth creation through spiritual economics. That is the background of this, that only those who are spiritually aligned are going to attract and price. So I'm sure those who are participating today in person or through online, this summit is not only going to enlighten us about the times to come, but also would inspire us to be spiritually aligned so that it opens the doors to prosperity for all of us. So my deep gratitude and reverence to Parabhujide Guruji for his hand of blessing and his divine margardashan. Om Namah Shivaya.
So Dinesh Sindwani ji is a legend, father figure, a mentor, a disciple of Guruji. And Dinesh ji was the past CEO of Vardhman Seeds. And I think any good organization you talk about, Dinesh ji already on the board advice. And so the Guruji blessing Dinesh ji is to steer led the large transformations of large communications. Now I will invite Adanya Purvesh Shelatkar ji, again an equity seater. Purvesh, a quick introduction and then
Namaskar, one and all. I'm Purvesh Krishna Shelatkar, born and brought up in Mumbai. I'm saying that because sir asked me whether we are from Mumbai. I was an equity fund manager with SKM Mutual Fund, capital on Society on Asset Management, handling about $2 billion US. For 3 years consecutively, I was exposed in Singapore amongst the global top 100 fund managers. Then I quit that and I had draft set stints with Bank of Baroda Capital Markets, Centrum and Last Naval Capital, where I was having a luck to be one of those persons who was able to create Uttam, one of the super billionaires this address produced. Over 144 rupees for any enterprise's price to already 25 lakh crore. Thanks Gauravji and Puneet for bringing me here. And I only like to say one thing. The while I heard all of you here, there's certainly a lot of miraculous aspects which are responsible for all of us here. I might myself being astrologer and I write astrology openly on LinkedIn. And in the Indian equity mutual fund industry is about 81 lakh crore, out of which about 32 lakh crore is equity and the rest is debt. So there are about 90% of the people who are managing that money, all the funds, right? May it be CIOs, CEOs, product equity or research analysts, I talk to them almost daily. And that's where, probably whether my astrology goes right because they follow me or because a fund manager is buying what I'm recommending is going right, God alone. But there is certainly some blessings, especially when I saw the photo of Mahata or Babaji. I was quite shocked because somebody was after me for last 3 years to get associated with something like this. And I was like, okay, dekhte hain. And then suddenly when I spoke to Gaurav Bhai that day, I realized that probably there's something calling me. And there are a lot of miracles which have happened with myself also. I must admit here that I am right now having only 25% comping in my heart. But if you look at me, my face or my communications, you will hardly find that I'm actually that weak physically. I also run a lot of astrological advices based on Active which is a sort of communication channel, radio-based channel, for which none other than Mohan Bhagwat sir met me saying that it is very difficult to bring in 100 Hindus together. You are bringing in some 15 lakhs Hindus a month. So God has been kind, and I'm very happy to be part of this. I'm sure we'll all create massive wealth with GURUJI'S and Mahtar Awards cards. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Last but not the least, Marathi में we call it देना याने देता राहावे, घेणा याने घेता राहा, घेता घेता घेणाऱ्याने देणाऱ्याचे हातच घ्यावे. Means the one who is right now giving you is making you so capable that you become that capable that you give it to somebody else. Let's be on that path. Thank you. Namaskar.
Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Shiv, so Chowdhary ji has given a gift to humanity. Internally in the Gurukul, we all call it structural intelligence. It's a pattern which is called Geo-economics GEI pattern. And we'll be speaking a lot about structural intelligence, this divine framework, this divine technology, by the blessings of Guru that we've all received. I'm going to talk to you about this technology because we talk about it a lot. So we just give a primer of this technology. Later in the session, after we have gone through 5 sessions, we will be actually demoing to you some prototypes. This technology, you can feel it, and Subhaji is going to present this particular technology to us. So I just want to prime it because you'll hear this word referred a lot. So I'm just going to give you a 5-minute, an introduction on the technology. Uditi, can we have the structured intelligence is something that that Guruji has taught us for a long time. In fact, Guruji has taught us about being completely structured. The only way to achieve scale, the only way to grow is to structure ourselves. That's the only way.
he can grow on structure out of it. That it could be teaching him structured intelligence technology is something that he'll apply and will play a great role in spiritual humanitarians and actually making it elaborate. But Guru always says, maths is a technology. While it's cheap in technology, it reflects the premiership of Guruji in terms of maths and physics. We are all trained in maths and physics, but there are worlds beyond. Guruji, for the first time, has connected the maths and physics to the consciousness world that we aspire for to be one with all it. But this is all about maths and physics, right? So we will talk about evolution from static models to living systems. Next slide. Okay, these are the 5 layers of geographic blockchain AI or structural intelligence, right? The first layer of structural intelligence that I want to talk to you about is a geometric layer. It's based on algebraic topology. It's an icosahedral mesh. It's a way for us to organize data, right? It's a way for us to organize anything around us, any organization, right? So there's a geometric topology layer right here. There's a flow analysis layer, some very deep physics that runs on top of the structure, right? Think about this as a football, right? Think about this as energy that flows on top of the football, right? If I were to look at a living house, right? The structure of the house, one room, the walls, the bathroom, the kitchen, all of that is a structure. But that house in itself is static. It doesn't mean anything. When you put in electricity to the house, lights come on, people walk, kids walk, there are things that go here and there. There is energy that comes into the house, right? That energy is the second layer. This is the structure, the khancha, the structure of the house. This is the energy of the house, the people, the electricity, the hawa, the temperature, all of the things that make that house living, right? So this is the structural layer, this is the physics layer, this is the third layer, which is how fast is that energy flowing? एक घर में 10 दिन में एक आदमी आता है, दूसरे घर में एक दिन में 10 आदमी आता है, right? So there's the flow of energy almost has a temporal, a time element to the whole thing, right? The third layer of structural intelligence is the temporal layer. It looks at what is the speed at which energy comes in. Now, all of these 3 things, if you are aware of the structure of the house, the people living in the house, the workers who come down, the electricity in the house, the fans, how they're moving, and the speed at which all of this happens, brings what we call the structural awareness into structural intelligence framework. These 3 first layers are the structural awareness here. But what can you do with awareness if there's no purpose? What makes awareness into intelligence? It is the goal, right? I want the house to be I want the house to have at least 10 visitors a day. Or I want the house to be home to 50 people, right? How can I grow my house to have 50 people? Where are the bottlenecks to have 50 people in the house rather than 10 people in the house? So I define a goal. How can I take the house, which has so many people, so many rooms, so much electricity happening at such a long time? How can I complete 50 people, right? So structural intelligence now, awareness manifests into structural intelligence because we define goal. Now, these goals can be met. I want a teen house. I want 50 people. I want 25 Matu Shaktis, 25 men. I want, these many kids. I want something else. You can define any goal. I want good light in the house. How did that structural awareness be used to below 50 intelligence? So the goal layer, it is a reinforcement layer, tells us what the goals are. But now we have a comfortable house, but I want to make it more comfortable. How can it keep letting come? How can a house keep getting complicated by itself? So there is a genetic evolution there, which mutates the house, right? Keeps changing, keeps giving determination. The house can be better and better. If I said my house should have a pollution level of 260, what is called PSI? What was that called? No QI. That level of 200, but maybe 180, 160. So this layer, which is a genetic evolution layer, evolves the house and makes it better and better and better. On top of that, we have a security guard, the software here, that's it on top, that documents everything. Beyond Kieran, there's a security guard that documents everything comes in and comes out, right? So whatever is happening in the structural awareness layer with structural intelligence on top of it is being documented to lend its credit, right? Same thing, if you adopt it to an enterprise, right? Obviously, I gave a very simplest example, so we are understand what structural intelligence is. But imagine now millions of galaxies together trying to achieve the same goals, framework and scale, right? I said a house, 10,000 houses, 100,000 houses, 1 billion, 10 million, 1 trillion houses. That's the structural intelligence technology. Applied to an enterprise, it will tell you exactly how enterprise can become profitable. Once it's aware of the enterprise, kya POs are like, kya ho raha hai, goal layer tells you increase my profitability or increase my NPS or whatever you want. Those goals are balanced and structural intelligence tell you what it is, right? Now, having said about all these 3 scales, there's a metric that we call, it's a brand new revolutionary KPI that comes out of this called Structural Health Indicator or SHI. Structural health indicator looks at your entire house, looks at the entire linear to whole structure to tells you how healthy you are, right? अगर आपका heart बहुत अच्छा है, but आपके पाँव में gangrene देखो जो खोले से रहती, correct? Because the gangrene in 2 days time is going to cup your heart, basically, kitty, right? Structural health, let's say your heart might be very good, but it detects a there being in your foot and says that you need to take care of them, need today to survive tomorrow. Right? So structural health analysis, that kind of a detail, which gives us a holistic view of how healthy a company is, or how healthy a certain use case is, or how healthy a bank is, or how healthy a family is, or how healthy we are as a company. That's the structural health index. Next slide. Next slide, Guruji. Thank you. Thank you. Now look at the whole world is possible structural identity, right? The hundreds of people come in versus say you want to get structural health index, evaluate it, and we want to figure out how we can do structural intelligence because it doesn't exist. This framework doesn't exist in Word. It's brand new, gift from after Sri Guruji to the entire man, right? And the whole world will get structurally intelligence-sized. Still a tongue twister. But it will all become structurally intelligence from. Let me put it that way. And look at the companies, right? The big company, J&J Redtech, right? You did a structural intelligence note for that. You can look at all the PTS there, but big companies though, Iberdrola, energy domain, ITC hotels, we all know about ITC hotels, in the hospitality domain, they are all getting structural intelligence enabled as we speak. Either at a management consulting level or at strategy level, they're all on that roadmap and on that path. Next slide, please. And look at some of the companies, right? Semtech, which is a semiconductor company, Torrent Pharma, Healthium. Next slide. Punjab Kings, the IPL is going on. What do Punjab Kings need to increase their enterprise valuation? To look at this, right? Punjab Kings, their enterprise valuation, ye ko chips scale 75K, right? A plan for that is in front of them. Correct? So it's not like structural intelligence is a technology, a framework applied to one problem statement. Although there's this own later talk about it, but it can be applied cross industries to any problem statement. So you will see various things being talked about in different industries as we go on. But we wanted to set a primer, just give you an introductory session on structural intelligence so it makes sense to you. Billions of enterprise value activated across 50 sectors. Next, to develop compliance for defined geodesic character. Layer and lead the method of the optimized. Either you use it or be left behind. I mean, I can go on the limb and say that either you use structural intelligence or be left behind. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you so much. And I think we all enjoyed session one. The beauty of our evening today is we have diverse sectors, diverse concepts, and we're on here, adapt, absorb, because we are in the journey of becoming quantum leaders. And so the session next completely changes into different aspects, and I'll request Adaniya Vigorji.
Om Namah Shivaya. To all the wonderful, beautiful souls and blessed souls out here today, and we'll be listening to a very divine, important video from Guruji on energy. And this was not recorded yesterday. This was a long time back, where he talks about what is going to actually happen with the energy segment. And it's interesting to understand that divinity doesn't need, too much of analysis to first understand or preempt things. Yes, please. You can play the videos first.
If you are a millionaire, multimillionaire, billionaire, understand one thing, that the transition that is coming is not the way you think. For example, there is a very big delusional prophecy going on that there will be a major shift from fossil fuel to clean fuel. Actually, it is not going to happen. Actually, this artificial push towards clean fuel is actually going to bring a lot of pain to a lot of economies who, without studying what this transition will actually mean, are jumping for it. Let me tell you, coal is going to remain relevant not just for next 12 months, but for next 15 years. Coal, oil, petrol, gas, all these conventional fossil fuels are going to remain relevant not just for next 12 months, but for next 15 years. Yes, there will be a transition, but in a very different way than what you think. The transition will be more hybrid. The transition will be more sector by sector, rather than everything and everyone jumping from fossil fuel to clean energy. It will be sectoral shifts. That sector which doesn't consume massive amount of energy and can sustainably shift to clean energy will make that shift.
About myself, I was with the stock exchange, with the commodities exchange for almost a couple of decades. I was heading business development at Multi Commodities Exchange, MCX, and around couple of years back, I from moved out from MCX and currently do a number of initiatives with the blessings of Guruji, primarily on the strategic consulting side, in addition to creating a platform for the small and medium sectors. I've also been working on strategy with the blessings of Guruji on a number of organizations. And the idea is to actually talk about the emerging technologies, which we have been talking about. You already have a feel of what structural intelligence is today, what geodesic blockchain AI is today, with the very fact that the geopolitical shift and the balance of power, which is shifting in favor of Bharat, the commodities segment, which actually is the basis of any economic development as such in the entire universe, will be actually instrumental to trigger the first, or I would say the subsequent waves of, or several waves of growth and development in the Indian ecosystem, in the Indian economy. With this, I will of course be talking or sharing a few slides on the opportunities as well as the overall commodities ecosystem. We have seen a kind of roller coaster ride over the last year or so, be it the stock markets, the commodity markets as such, and it will continue to be the same way for the next few years for that matter. But at the same time, if we actually want ourselves to be in safe hands, if we want to be in the right side, right, it is going to be through structural intelligence, through proper planning, if we actually want to ensure growth for us. The overall commodities markets, the obvious things that come to our mind in the energy basket is crude oil, natural gas. Mineral segment, we have steel, the most popular, and then we have got the copper, zinc, nickel, aluminum. We have energy basket, there you have crude oil. We have the precious metal segment, which is gold and silver. And you all know that not all of them are directly proportional to the economic growth, but some of them are actually hedge against any kind of crisis as well. So structural intelligence, which captures the trillion-dollar convergence of critical minerals, energy, and this geodesic blockchain AI. Can we move on to this is a briefing, which is a pretty private briefing for all the family officers and the Mumbai CEOs who are here. The end of linear systems. Now we have to understand that the commodities market, the way it used to be and the way it is turning out to be and the way it will be in future is going to be far more different. Look at the size today. It is close to $142.85 trillion commodity market, which is actually trapped in reactive silos, right? There is a fracture. This is a fracture that we're talking about. There have been cascading grid failures. There have been low inertia grid instabilities when we talk about specific sectors such as power. And of course, we have also seen cybersecurity breach, right? Now, the catalyst here is geodesic blockchain AI, structural intelligence, as Pratik is already giving you a basic hint about what it is all about. Now, the fix is that it uses the vector calculus, Stokes, green divergence theorems, which lead to the physical infrastructure, right? And then the communication scaling, and then the microsecond anomaly detection and autonomous sub 5 minute self-healing. This is extremely critical Predictive intelligence is going to be very, very basis of any sort of development which happens in the future to detect, right, and to ensure that it is taken care of when you talk about any sort of anomaly, any sort of issues, any sort of problems which are being faced, which today we call as technical glitch, or such technical glitch, even in exchanges have cost millions of dollars of losses. We can move on with the next slide, please. So there is the autonomous resilience, a very good example. Pratik was already mentioning, right? And the Uber Dula, which the turnaround which is happening today, as a result of the application of structural intelligence, right? There were tremendous blackouts that are happening, which were happening in April 2025. We could see 15 hours lost. We were seeing 4 to 6 hours manual response systems happening. And a single event risk was not a few crores, right? The single event risk was actually costing more than 300 to 700 million euros. Now, look at the geodesic autonomous grid. What happens here is that they are able to predict frequency drops not a few hours, not a few minutes, but 48 hours in advance, right? There is a 5-minute self-heal which happens. What is the net profit jump? Now, this is a real-time story which you're seeing, right? The net profit jump, which you see, is close to 68%. The annual EBITDA we see is an increase of 25%. The enterprise valuation target today is an increase not of 10 or 20%, but more than 60%, so almost 63%, from 8 billion euros to 130 billion euros, and a 691%, almost a 700% ROI over 3 years. You can move on to the next thing. So this is the Iberdrola example, real lifetime example which is happening here. Now, a very important part of the entire critical minerals segment, or I would say metal segment of the hottest segment, of course, is a very, very important element is Odisha, right? Which alone sits on a huge reserve of royals, right? It has the potential of being a $1 trillion in the economy alone by 2037, 38. Now, transforming sovereign wealth architect, right? The sovereign wealth architect fact and looking at the Yukisha super cycle, we are actually looking at transforming India's mineral heartland, right? From a raw exporter to a global advanced materials platform, right? So, Odisha, even today people say that, you would say that, of course, it is mineral rich. Of course, we have aluminum. Of course, we have coal. Of course, we have, every mineral that you will think about today. But what is happening today is only a fraction of the entire enormous potential which is there. And what can be the few interesting elements here, right? And let me give you a starter. This is going to be happening via 12 geodesic innovations, right? 12 geodesic innovations. To start with, we can see that there are certain very interesting categories which we talk about, such as the vanadium and grid batteries. These are sourced from chromite waste, right? And this chromite waste for 24/7 renewable grid storage can be used. We have Scandinum aluminum hub, right? Which is again a very, very interesting story, which is sourced from bauxite paste, right? And which of course we call as red mud, which is also being used for aerospace by the Airbus, etc. The graphene from coal, this is again extremely interesting. Not that a lot of work has happened in this particular segment so far, and flash heating, converting the culture coal for next gen batteries and semiconductors, right? Then you go to titanium valley, right? Extracted from the beach sands. And we already have plans. We already have some test results at DRDO, as well as components and even medical impacts can be extremely, this particular segment can be extremely verified from this entire. So we are looking at 50 lakh, right? 5 million figure of new high skill jobs. Now, when you have a demand of 50 lakh, skilled people, you can understand where the economy is headed. This actually ends structural poverty and it creates highly equitable, predictable society. You want the next slide, please? I just take a couple of those slides because we have very interesting, very important speakers. There's a global critical metals council which we are talking about. As I was mentioning today, one of Guruji's Ashia, Guruji's blessings, and we are creating the global critical metals council. This is the market maker, and the geodesy guy is restructuring this the entire 142 or 143 trillion dollar global commodities market. There'll be various phases, as you've already seen a bit of understanding from what Pradeep ji shared. Phase 1, I'll just run very quickly. The phase 1 is going to be between 25-26, where we will be having the icosahedral mesh for precious metal segment, and there's going to be instant settlement, 20% operational cost reduction. Phase 2, by 2028, we expect the industrial metals integration starting about precious metals, moving on to the industrial metals segment, right? Which is again the backbone of the economy. 60% supply chain cost reduction is going to happen in copper, lithium, as well as nickel. Phase 3, by 2030, right? We are expecting the IoT sensors and the energy markets, which again is the top of the town every next day. 40% volatility reduction, right? In the huge $45.6 trillion in these markets. The phase 4, which will be the final phase by 2033, the autonomous markets under quantum AI. By that time, 93% of market share in robotic services will be with the council, right? And this will be unleashing $19.7 billion in new annual value creation. You move on to the next slide. So the structural advantage, we can just get is going to be grid stability, cyber security, the mineral value, and the market trading, right? So we start off with stability, building the grid stability, moving on to ensuring that we have a cyber security, we don't have any breachless mineral value, ensuring that product extraction, high risk, and very low margins, even if low margins are there, they are taken care of, and ensuring that vertical integration happens. And therefore, we are getting more value out of the metals. Market trading, we'll ensure that instead of the T+2 settlement and opaque products, we see instant settlement and tokenized physical backing. Move on to the next slide, please. The career wealth radar for family offices and CEOs, right? Hyper growth markets. These are some of the examples of the hyper growth markets, right? And we have graphene, $38 billion by 2033. We have the global, if you look at the emerging asset classes, is going to be tokenized rare earths, right? Deep sea water, aquaculture, blue ocean economy, blessings of Guruji, $200 a kg high yield yields, right? And even something as unimaginable as bamboo carbon fiber, right? This is disrupt. This is actually going to disrupt the $18 billion win-win market, right? The cost is 40% lower. The enterprise multiplier, this being the enterprise multiplier, or the geodesic AI will be actually triggering 38% to 63% valuation previous, right? So operational excellence and ESG ka plan view bond access. Yeah, I think, and the final slide, of course, where so the window of asymmetry is open, transition from fragile linear infrastructure. You have to forget the word linear now. It is going to be autonomous structural intelligence. And this is going to be the greatest revolution event of our generation. So, thank you so much. And we look forward to all of you, the entire, the world, of course, the leaders of the commodities world is going to be very specific and on the bite. But you can secure the early mover positions in the GCFC framework. There can be several partnerships which are already working out and you're heading transformations. Thank you so much. I hope this was
able to create some sort of an interesting aspect towards the commodity segment and the upcoming magic which is going to be created. Next speaker and important guest, a very key, a real key player in the entire commodity segment, of course, which is Hindalco. We have the risk head of Hindalco, Shri Piyush Arora. If you can share a few words of your thoughts on the future of commodities markets, especially any of the distributors.
Thank you for giving the opportunity. As you know, we are into a commodity cycle boom. India is going to be eating the commodity boom in next decade. The key raw materials that we talk about, cutting energy and equity, especially if you look at all the growth that is happening in India and across to get into the aluminum and copper. And these two raw materials are going to be the key growth drivers for the key. And Hindalco is one of those producers. So if you look at the growth globally you will see about 2% growth as happened. But if you look at in India, it is double-digit growth. The volume of the commodities that we are talking is going to double in next 7 years. That is what the boom in India is scale. And obviously, if the cycle keep on moving up and down, and it is globally, the prices are one of the key things variables. If you look at 6 months before, what was the prices? But today, there has been a quantum jump in the prices, and that is where the key takeaway is. If you are properly hedged, if you have the policies that are there, it will help you in your growth. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to sustain the volatility at this thing.
Thank you so much, Yuji. A big round of applause for his very valuable insight. He's, of course, sharing that the key to not only survival but to growth is managing your risk. And of course, we have a structure in place, structural intelligence. We have the geodesic blockchain AI, which is Shindaji, who's there, who's joining us from UK. Shindaji, is over to you now.
Shai, and Satsukhan to everybody. Good afternoon, or everybody in the room, and also everyone that's online from far and wide. I just to extend on what Vibhorji had spoken about, because I think everybody that's on in the room and also online, I think everybody in the room understands. They understand the markets. You see price, you see volatility, you see movement and opportunity. But you've got to understand that markets don't create wealth; they actually reflect it. So if you're only looking at price, you're already too late. Because the time something shows up on the screen, the positioning has already happened. The capitals have already moved, the real decisions have already been made. So the question is not, where is the market going? The question is, where is wealth actually created? Now, real wealth is created elsewhere. It comes from, controlling assets. It's scaled by the right kind of capital. And increasingly, it is unlocked through infrastructure and access. Now, if you understand how those three connect, you start reacting to markets and you start positioning ahead of it. So if we start with the foundation, and Guruji had repeatedly guided that in times of great transition, those who understand how to align resources, intelligence, structure, they're not only going to survive, they're actually going to define it. So when the systems become too complex and fragmented, a higher form of intelligence must emerge to bring order. Otherwise, what happens? Collapse becomes inevitable. So when you look at commodities, everything we rely on, starts here. Energy, metals, food. This is the real economy. This is where real value originates from. But there is a structural disconnect because most capital today sits in financial markets, chasing signals, reacting to price, trading volatility. Very little of that capital is positioned close to physical assets themselves. And the gap, well, this is where the real opportunity sits. Because when you actually move closer to the source, closer to the production, closer to storage, closer to logistics, closer to financing, you're no longer dealing with noise. You're actually dealing with structure. And here's a secret. Let me address something directly with everybody. People often talk about a secret to making serious money in commodities. I think the reality is much simpler than people think. The real money is not made in market. It is made before the markets even know what to price. By that time, something becomes tradable. The outcome has already been decided. most participants focus on predicting price, timing markets, trading volatility. That's the visible layer, but it also where most risk sits. So the real money, the consistent, the scalable money comes down to one thing, controlling flow. If you control how commodities move, where they are stored and how they are financed, you're no longer reacting to markets. You're positioned inside the system that drives them. You don't need to predict oil prices if you control when oil reaches the market. You don't need to chase volatility if you're financing the system itself. So the closer you are to the flow, the less randomness you face, and the more control you have. You've ever seen this, like, markets stop being something you trade and start becoming something you position yourself around. So when you transition this into a geopolitical situation, it becomes even more important when you take a step back and look at the global backdrop. I think commodities today, they're no longer just about supply and demand. They're tied to geopolitics, energy security, and the rebalancing of global power. What we see now is not a normal cycle. It is a structural shift in how the world sources, controls, and values resources. And if you actually understand that shift, you really understand that shift, you understand where capital will move next. So to take this deeper, I'd like to give you a grounded view on how commodities are evolving in this new geopolitical world order. I'd like to bring in a global entrepreneur in commodities. His name is Avilo Velikov. He's based in Dubai. So Avilo, if I could just quickly pass this across to yourself.
Yeah.
Avilo, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, but my video is disabled by the host.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, you can, if you want to continue.
Okay, right now it's working. So, Indra, thank you for having me, and it's a very important opportunity to share our thoughts today. So yes, speaking about, I totally support everything what you just said, and maybe it will be interesting if I share part of our personal experience the last few years, what we have done and why. We start to prepare for this new shift approximately 2 years before the COVID-19 crisis. Well, I would like to say also that we are very, very involved with the structural intelligence, and we use that very heavily into everything what we are doing and trying to predict. Because obviously, you're absolutely right that we are in the middle of complete change of everything what was known before. So nothing will be the same like before. That's obvious. So the indicators were saying that we are closing a global conflict. That was before COVID-19. I personally believe that was intentional, but that's another story. So basically, what happened? That was the part of a long program of, let's say, changing the world. So if you all remember what happened, COVID-19 practically disrupt the logistic in the international trade and affect very seriously the financial system. But most importantly, that put on hold a lots of infrastructure, but mainly mining projects related to these natural resources that we're talking about now. And of course, because of that, some countries were put in a not good position. And because of that, we focus all our resources and we shift entirely into not only trading with commodities, but a bit closer to them and basically control these assets from first hand. So we operate right now in Asia, Africa, and America. Asia, I'm talking about Mongolia, which is strategically important land. One of the most wealthy country in the world. If we talk about natural resources, Africa, we focus and we start our gold trading and gold operations from Ghana. And we are one of the few companies that here in Dubai we had the first contracts with through the board procedures. In Latin America, we are focusing on Brazil, which have vast majority of natural resources on top. But going back to what you say, we just need to realize that because there is absolutely nothing compared to the past, the international law was completely broken. No international agreements are valid anymore, and we are in the middle between a situation where the older is already destroyed, but the new one is still coming. That is why I mentioned structural intelligence, which means that we need to focus on that very heavily. And because of the global instability, and because I personally believe that that will continue for the next maybe 10 to 15 years, the way that we are talking today, that to arrange and to create just to connect the digital currency to the natural resources, that's absolutely the most important thing to be done as quick as possible. If we talk about the global conflict right now, which is the war in Iran, and I live in Dubai, so I had this from my first sight. I believe that this is a pivotal structural conflict, which practically say one thing, that the moral power will be different. There will be no more bilateral separating on our planet. Definitely, we're going to have new players, and I personally believe that India will be one of them, because of there is many factors about that. We don't have enough time to discuss this today, but if we pay serious attention to, as I said, not only be involved into trading strategically important commodities, but also we to control the whole process from the beginning. I'd like to explain what does it mean, and this is from my personal experience. So, because of the global instability is difficult to be predict, and because we see what happened with Strait of Hormuz and the disruption of the logistic and how that affect the global economy, from now on, we need to find a way how to create a new kind of partnership and joint partnership agreements between us, just to try to increase the resources that we have. So these resources to be directly invested into control not only the natural resource, but also to control the logistic and the way from the mine to the final user, but also we to invest heavily into refining of these natural resources. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that now it's the moment to close that circle. I hope you all agree that so far that was not the way. So most of the companies were focusing it into maybe one or two different directions, but now we just need to consolidate all that. That's the only way to diversify this risk, which is increasing every single day. From the other hand, I mentioned a couple of times structural intelligence for only one reason. I mean, there is lots of examples why this is necessary. Just look what's going on in Europe. I'm born in Europe, in Bulgaria, and I can tell that the old beautiful Europe is disappearing only because of completely wrong strategical decisions, completely wrong, and only because there is a degradation of elite. And speaking of that, India for me is still and have enormous potential because of the completely different structure of the so-called elite, which is important to lead any country forward. From the other hand, if we don't understand and try to predict at least half of what can happen, we go nowhere. Unfortunately, this is my personal opinion, of course. I don't want to force anyone to accept it, but I believe that the quality of the so-called economical experts and financial experts in the last 30 years go down significantly because no one predicted exactly what will happen. And speaking of that, long before gold became fashion, these days we will evolve into gold trading and gold mining, etc., etc. Only because I personally understand that this shift, which Peter mentioned, it's inevitable first, and secondly, the trust in the financial system no longer exists, from my personal opinion, and gold will stay, I believe, one of the most important part of how we protect our assets in general. And it will continue to be like that. The only problem that we have, and that is why I said that we need to focus very seriously into all that, is that I personally, my prediction is that next few years, the physical delivery of gold will be difficult and will become more difficult. So that is why we need to pay serious attention into obtaining access to more assets directly. So, Peter, maybe you can say a few words more about it.
Yeah, thank you, Ivo. And we want to understand this is exactly why the space is changing so quickly, because you got us, commodities are no longer, they're no longer just the market. They're a strategic layer, which actually brings me to my second layer, which is sovereign capital, but not just any capital, the kind that shapes the market. When you look at sovereign wealth funds, such as Abu Dhabi Investment Authority's public, the PIF Public Investment, and the GIC, which is the government of Singapore Investment Corporation, they're not just trading commodity. They're actually securing infrastructure, supply chains, and long-term assets. You see retail trade prices, institution managing exposure, sovereign capital controls access. And once you control that access, you don't need to follow the market. You actually shape them. These conglomerates, these foreign wealth funds, they actually be thinking decades, not quarters. Now, to really take this onto another level and to really understand this mindset, I'd like to bring in a strategic advisor to sovereign wealth funds. Her name is Tuia Watko, just to share how sovereign capital is thinking and deploying today. So, Tuia, are you available? Can you?
I am here. Good afternoon.
Perfect.
And good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much. And it's absolutely a pleasure to be here today. And I would like to say a few words directly from the sovereign capital perspective. As Pinto said, we work heavily with the sovereign wealth funds in the GCC, in the Southeast Asia, and in Europe. But the world is so different now that the world is no longer purely financial as it used to be, and that has, of course, changed the narrative with the sovereign wealth funds as well. That the question and the task of them is not simply how to generate the returns anymore. The question is that actually how to preserve, how to position and extend national wealth and influence in this new, very different world. In the GCC, the sovereign wealth funds such as the PIF in Saudi, the ADIA in Emirates, the KRA in Kuwait, QIA in Qatar, they are transforming from passive oil wealth managers into the strategic engines of the economic and technological transformation. In the Southeast Asian side, the sovereign wealth funds such as the GIC Singapore, the BPI Indonesia, Asana in Malaysia, MIF in Philippines, and others, their transformation is a little bit different, but they are also changing a lot at the moment. They are changing from the passive reserve managers to basically the regional development tools for the energy transitions, the climate, the supply chain transitions. So the change is going on, and it is very big and visible at the moment. We're no longer in a traditional market cycle, as we all know that we are in a geo-economic cycle, which means that the capital is shaped not just by the markets, but by the many other factors, such as the NSE corridors, how the trade realignments, how the currency fragmentation goes, how the technology control and geopolitical alliances changing everything. So in this environment, the capital that used to be kind of neutral is definitely not neutral anymore. That it is a strategic, and that has created interesting situation in with the sovereign wealth funds, because we have seen and we will see the lots of new alliances between not just the regions but the whole world alliances between the sovereign wealth funds. So let's think about the GCC a little. That especially for Saudi, that this situation creates both the strength and responsibility. We all know that that region controls some of the most critical real assets in the global system, especially in the energy fields, and that has created the situation not just with the PIF in the region, but everyone, that these institutions, sovereign wealth funds, are not just investors anymore. They are more the strategic architects of long-term economic positioning, and the focus in the sovereign wealth fund side is pretty clear at the moment, that their focus is to secure the global leadership in energy, infrastructure, technological change. Their focus is to diversify the economic exposure beyond not just hydrocarbons. There is much more than that. Their focus is to expand influence across the trade corridors, and of course preserves the wealth across the generations now more than ever. But of course, the focus is so strong, so big, that it increases all the this complexity of this situation, and increases creates the problems and challenging. That the challenge is not the capital, the challenge is not the access to the capital. The challenge is to make sure and be very focused that the capital actually remains correctly positioned in the system, and it's not in the wrong place at the wrong time. Because what we see today, it's not the short term volatility. It's definitely a structural change we have already seen and will see, as Peter and I was said before, that we have already seen the energy market change. We have definitely seen a massive supply chain withdrawn, if we put it the nice way, and it's changing, if not daily, but weekly. Things are moving very fast. The currency relationships are becoming less stable, and the dynamics are changing. So this environment basically itself creates the situation that the most necessary and most important for the sovereign wealth funds is to have the structural visibility. And this is where this structural intelligence becomes the most relevant from that point of the view. That I know that I've already talked about this, but basically the structural intelligence provides a way to understand how these systems interact as code, not just a national, not just a regional, but the whole big picture. And it ensures that the energy and the capital infrastructure, geopolitical pressure points, are connected and influenced each other all the time, and it makes sure that these are actually the factors that has been taken care of, not just guessed. So because the key risk for sovereign capital today is not just the market exposure. That is a risk, but it's not just that. The structural misalignment is the biggest risk, biggest challenge, because being positioned in the wrong part of the system at the wrong time in the wrong place, that creates far worse and greater consequences than just short-term market losses. And that's where structural intelligence helps. It helps to address that that by identifying where the pressure is building and where the systems are likely to be rebalanced. It shifts the decision making from reactive allocation to proactive positioning, and that's the huge benefit. But of course, understanding the system is only the first step. The next step that is very crucial is the control of the system. And here where I would like to bring in the geodesic blockchain, artificial intelligence, that it's not being positioned as a standalone technology. It's a system architecture that introduces structure, the boundaries and visibility into how the capital moves across the networks. And that's what is crucial to get these all points mentioned before to actually handled. In a world where the capital can move much faster than governance, this is definitely critical, and this risk is uncontrolled propagation of capital across or misaligned systems. So the geodesic blockchain AI allows sovereign capital to operate with the very clear visibility, with the control movements, with the definitely defined boundaries, so the exposure remains intentional, not accidental. So if we take this on the one step further, the question becomes that how does sovereign capital actually maintain alignment with the real assets while still operating across an increasingly fragmented global system? And this is where Rishicoin becomes strategically relevant. That the Rishicoin is not positioned as a speculative instrument. It is designed as designed as a structured financial layer that sits between the assets and the capital. And for the GCC nations and the Southeast Asian nations, this directly addresses a critical transition. The regions already controls significant real assets, but the next phase is control how the capital actually interact with these assets. And Rishicoins enables that by anchoring the capital to real economic value, enabling structured and scalable participation, and definitely improving how capital flow across the orders, the sectors, the partners. And this becomes particularly important for both the GCCs, Southeast Asia, and actually all parts of the world. That it's the global energy markets, infrastructure, and infrastructure investment and cross-regional economic partnerships are extremely important, and there need to be a way to basically manage them. So this allows sovereign capital to move while remaining aligned with the strategic priorities. And this is where the opportunity becomes very clear. So if we combine structural intelligence that provides clarity on system behavior, if we put together with the geodesic blockchain, which enables the controlled and optimized capital movement, and if we bring in the Rishicoin together with this tool, it provides a scalable asset-aligned financial layer, creates something more than just a financial solution. It creates a sovereign capital framework designed for a structurally shifting world. For example, for Saudis and for GCC, this is not just an opportunity to participate, it's an opportunity to lead. And the situation is exactly the same in all parts of the world, because the GCC already sits at the center of the global energy and capital flows, and so does the Southeast Asia. So the next step is to define how those flows are actually structured, accessed, and scaled. So those who control the assets have the power, and those who control access to those assets define how the system works. So in a world where systems are being reconfigured, that distinction becomes absolutely critical. This is not about predicting the next market cycle. It is about ensuring that sovereign capital actually remains aligned, protected, and strategically positioned as the global system changes and evolves. That is where structural intelligence, geodesic blockchain, AI, and risk commerce come together. It's not an isolated concept. It's an integrated approach to preserving and extending sovereign wealth in this interesting geo-economic world where we are living at the moment.
Thank you very much for that, Jay. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I think, the long-term thinking is what actually builds these systems, not the trades. You got to understand that if we have real assets, we have serious capital, but they're not connected efficiently. That's not a capital problem. It's an access and structure problem. So to define, back in 2012, there was a company called Knight Capital Group who lost 440 million in about 45 minutes. Not because the market moved against them, not because the strategy was wrong, but because of a very, very small error that was allowed to spread through the system at speed. What failed was not the code, it was the action structure itself. There are no boundaries. The authority was too concentrating, the capital moved faster than control. Once it crossed a specific point, the outcome locked in. And that's the difference between an event and a system failure. Most people think risk comes from events. In reality, risk comes from how the system is wired. And this is all structured intelligence. It's about seeing where outcomes are already becoming inevitable. It identifies where systems are likely to break, analyzing flow, feedback loops, concentration of control. If you only just look at the price, you react. If you understand the structure, you anticipate it. So just to condense that a little bit more, when most investors look for opportunities, we actually look for pressure, because when pressure builds in the right places, outcomes stop becoming certain, which is what we call secret hedges. It's not a list of trades. It's not predictions. It's a positioning framework. It identifies where pressure is building across the system. Energy supply chain, sovereign balance sheets. When these forces align, you actually move from probabilities to inevitabilities, which is obviously takes you to optimization. This is where GURUJI'S blockchain comes in. So it continuously refines where capital should be positioned within that system. Now, just to reiterate what Guruji said, and he explained that the current financial system is built on control rather than true value. US dollar's dominance is sustained by belief and power, and that weakens the system. It becomes, rather than evolving, it becomes a disappearing act. Stable coins are part of that evolution. They create the importance or appearance of stability, but in reality, they preserve the same underlying control simply in digital form. So if you really want to see where this is going in real time, there's a major shift happening in global finance, specifically in the US. Look at what US is coming out with stable coins. It's quietly transforming how debt is funded. On the surface, it looks like innovation, faster payments, digital dollars, global access. But underneath, every stable coin is backed one-to-one by US treasuries. So every transaction anywhere in the world becomes a demand for what? American debt. The US no longer is asking the world to fund it. It's actually embedding it into the system itself. But here's a critical point. Any nation that adopts that system is reinforcing someone else's balance sheet, which means something's missing. But there is an alternative. And I know we've spoken, Tuia and Ivo spoke quickly about Rishicoin, but what is Rishicoin? Rishicoin is not another cryptocurrency. Think of it this way, today, capital, assets, and execution, they sit in separate systems. Rishicoin brings them into one environment where allocation, movement, and scaling happen continuously. It connects real assets, capital, and execution without friction, without delays, and structural limitations of traditional systems. So instead of having isolated data, you can now have a system that continuously allocates, scales, and compound. And this is the secret to making serious money in commodities, not by trading them, but positioning yourself within that system that controls them. Now, there is an edge here, but the edge is not predicting price. The edge is in controlling access. This has never been scaled before because the structure had been missing. Everybody was overlooking at it, not the asset, but the system around the asset. But that's where the opportunities sit. So to conclude, the shift is already happening. Capital is moving, assets are being secured. New systems, they are being built. The question is not whether wealth will be created. It will. But the next phase of wealth creation will not be open. It will be structured. And assets will not be given. It will be designed. So the real question is, who is positioned inside that system that creates it? Because in the next phase of global finance, you won't be measured by what you own, but by the system you operate within. So the US already have made its move. Stable coins are their infrastructure. Rishi coin is ours. So the only question left is, which system do you want your future tied?
Intention is that we're likely to here to build good, deep bonds region, right? When Davos was set up, Davos had good people spending time just understanding. See, if some of you are going to be ultra millionaires, some of you will turn out to be considered, maybe one or so will become a trillionaire. It is not going to happen on a transactional basis, right? And we all are good at transactions when we are bad at transactions. This is to build something fundamentally. So please, build big relationships, understand about each other, and give time. So that is forgiveness. All right. So go with the approach of selfless. What can I do for the other person? It'll be little difficult. Many of us are self-destructive. We think what's it to me. You hear that there's a bigger purpose. So what can I do for the other person? Second, egoless. Right? Humility. This ecosystem is all about humility. Humility. You invite respect, love, and a long-term. No one tolerates ego. And these 10 years are going to be very punishing for anyone who operates with. Fearless. If you are selfless, if you are operating with humility, then be fearless, because this ecosystem is not to help you earn your daily bread. This is for you to earn infinite wealth. So it might be possible that this journey is not for you, and that is also okay. Our intention is not to take everyone around the journey. Actually, our intention is to earn as many as few as possible. Because this ecosystem has produced, this is the deepest ecosystem in the entire world. It has roots everywhere, and it has all this legacy like an IIT. Lakhs and lakhs of people study for IIT. It's a prestigious institution. Right? Only a handful get through, and only a handful then succeed. Then if you read UPSC. Hindustan Gan, CEI, is actually far more ruthless. Right? We will help each one of you evolve to such a peak state. It'll all happen very, very quickly. That's why you need to have the right ecosystem. It's very lonely at the top. Right? So selfless, egoless, fearless, then desireless. Right? We can only think small. But you say, when I'm going to give you gold mines after gold mines. Right? I've shared with you one example, right? So again, I'll copy you one example. This, very immense soul, all of a sudden the stock price shot up from 70,000 crores to 94,000 crores. In just a matter of 3 years. The first, right? So Sushil. So I share about that brief case. Now, so much will come our way. So you have to start thinking big and stand it up. So that's why go with intention of on the journey what will bring you. And look at this thoughtless. Our mind is actually the disease. So if you see the SHIV wave in front of you, on every page at the top and the bottom, there are clear cues given for you. Mind is never meant to simplify things. We operate with simplicity, and trust me, we know precisely what's going to happen next month in the world. Month after month after month after 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 or 4 year targets. Right? So this is the way we want you all to, if you think this is your journey, align. So let your thoughts go. Just be a good listener. See what others are bringing to the table. Everyone here has the potential to be a leader globally. Right? So the 30 minutes is for you to have the absorb what you receive and explore opportunities of networking. Thank you. Om Namaste. wealth management, how to create the world's largest funds. In all honesty, we understand that funds, say VCO, is it private equity, equity funds, everyone is actually experiencing some challenges, right? I know what it's a VC that I'm an investment banker, I run a business club, I've invested in a lot of VCs, back thousands of entrepreneurs. So I understand that VCs are not performing, right? What am I saying? And the problem is private economics, which is supposed to be delivering late returns. You know, a lot of that is based on your exit. A lot of that's based on listed now, especially when the markets are unsure, volatile. When everyone is trying to squeeze onto their purse, challenges are different. However, as I said, crisis is not for people in this pool. Crisis is for the rest of the world, and that is okay. That's just economics. That's a geopolitics, right? If we are tuned in and aligned to where the world is going to get, this is the only ecology, right? And you will see why I say this, right? So sometimes to the insight that we get actually it surpasses the European grade information. Likely what is about to happen. Where it advanced, right? So for that, Puneetji, why don't we start? And let's start. So Greece, India, and Israel, right? With a beautiful prophecy from Guruji, right? And in the world that we create a corridor in which there will be multiple countries, but specifically focusing on India, Israel, and Greece. This is 1 week after Guruji had shared this prophecy. We had shared this prophecy with other way Daniel Bernardji. Daniel G is also joining us from Israel, right? And so what is the outer transpire? Often you will, as you get closer to the ecosystem, often you will start to see these words beautifully used by the best investors from around the world. So I've noticed, my journey, I've noticed that when Guruji says something, and Guruji is a trendsetter, right? And when Guruji says something, everyone, for some reason, somehow of the world starts to repeat those thesis words in media. So what we are trying to show you is that you are just accessing the tip of the iceberg. The more you get involved, the more you get engaged, right? Is you learn. Now, why we are doing all this? What is the purpose of creating wealth? That is very, very important. So what we played beforehand was the girl-child empowerment initiative. Guruji has taught us Bhakti that men or boys are not the reason of civilizational continuation. It is actually women, and especially girl children. Now, in any culture, we see there are a lot of goddesses. In the Hindu culture, there are special respect to goddess, right? Now, good intentioned people, Hindus have been given enough wealth to have built a good prosperous society. Clearly, as Dinesh guided, it was used for all intentions or wrong hands, right? What has transpired is that the reason you see this turbulence that is happening is because we are at a peak state where girl child is struggling and suffering. This peak state of trafficking, peak state of rape, molestation, right? For a culture, for a civilization that has given so much respect to girl, we have become hypocrite. This is why Amidst Dhyan was started on 14 June 2008. So every one of you is here by contribution. You are joining with intention to give and then receive too, right? Everything is coming from the divine to us. So when we distribute back divine wealth back to the divine, that is being used for girl child empowerment. And for those of you who are joining us on this divine instrument, divine trip tomorrow, very good to like your Masaka, you will see how we are not only protecting the civilizational future, but nurturing and empowering them. Why? 1.5 billion Indians. Their journey actually is each one of them. Guruji says has to become a quantum leader. The world is desperate, not for technical anymore, not for basic level economic. That job market will disappear. It's already disappeared. Everyone really pushed to think quantum, act quantum. That is what the Sanskriti has been teaching us.
So a little bit of that to build India. So Kurichi, let's play the play. So the more we make, the more we can get the third. That is the center ownership.
Divinely inspired. Let me make a prophecy. Irrespective of what you are seeing around you, irrespective of anything that you see in the world today, whatever you may feel is happening in the world, this is all an illusion, Maya. What actually is happening is an absolute rise of Vishuddha Hindu Rashtra Bharat. And with Bharat, rise of Israel. The future belongs to Bharat Israel Brotherhood. Very specifically, Hindu Jew Brotherhood. Every Israeli Jew should collaborate with Hindutva Abhiyan ecosystem very specifically to get future ready. There are 1.2 billion Hindus which, when integrated with the Jewish genius of finance, innovation and military science, creates the perfect ecosystem of world domination, of become leaders of every single vertical in geo-economics and geopolitics. Together, Israel and India will create the greatest ever military force, joint military force, protecting each other's interests, geopolitically and geoeconomically.
Yeah, this was the first part. Now Konichi will play the second part, which talks about a future possibility. So, US, UK, Europe is declining, right? China will follow. It's theoretical. India, Israel, and Greece. And Greece as an opportunity, though it is demographically struggling, it is economically struggling. It is part of Europe. See, if a ship is sinking, even if one container is golden, you still sink, right? So how does that I will receive is blessing to have a guaranteed turnaround, right? So that we'll discuss little later. So G, second part, to AG please.
So once you understand it from this perspective, look at Israel. Global shipping irrelevant between Israel and India. In fact, Israel-India is the axis of geopolitics and geoeconomics that we have to realize. Please understand this from geodesic blockchain AI perspective. Earth is round, so you cannot draw a straight line on Earth. You can only draw curves. So if you draw the shortest possible curvilinear perimeter between Greece and India, watch, it passes through Israel from a ocean perspective. So basically Mumbai, the port of Mumbai, then the port of Haifa and the various ports of Greece. They are the future of geoeconomics and geopolitics. They are the natural axis of geoeconomics and geopolitics. And as Guruji has said that the future of geoeconomics and geopolitics is going to be ocean, space, and then land. Till now, for last 2000 years, it was land, continent. Now it is going to be ocean, space, and land. And as you can see on the map, India, which controls 5 out of 7 choke points of the world, is the natural geological and geographical ocean is mega power of the world. And between
Thank you. Okay, now with Guruji's blessing, let's shift gears and hear from Adanya Amit Kotaji. Amit Kotaji is a celebrated investment banker, wealth manager from Nagin, Wayfair. Personally, I give so high regard to Amit Kotaji, who's actually astrologically blessed.
and also at step 8 or step 9. So again, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, they've all gone through 9 steps, right? In different forms. So Amit Kotaji has been doing multi-billion in deals. The only person I've known GP Vujadi, late GP Vujadi for a while. Only person I know who got personal investment from GP Vujadi is at ecosystem. So, let's hear. So again, a huge set of blessings happen given by Guruji. So Amitji, over to you. Please take us through the next 2-3 comments.
Om Namah Shivaya to everyone, which says, Dharmasya Moolam Artham, Arthasya Moolam Rajyam, Rajasya Moolam Swayam Siddhi. So the foundation of Dharma and spirituality is Geo-economics, which actually leads me to highlight how structural intelligence that you all have heard of up till now is relevant in the financial ecosystem as well. How structural intelligence can revolutionize the payment and the fintech ecosystem, how we apply it to the fund management side, which is my area of expertise. So if I kind of tell you that the classical AI in financial services works by pattern recognition. You train a model on historical fraudulent transactions and it flags future transactions that resemble past fraud. This is reaction. This is looking backwards. Structural intelligence is fundamentally a different approach. It brings by mapping the complete structural topology of a financial system. Every entity, every flow, every relationship, every pattern of behavior as a living geodesic network. We've heard about fraud, money laundering, and systemic risk. These are all structural deformations. Structural intelligence detects these deformations before the transactions complete, not after the fact. If I put it this way very subtly, it tells you about an earthquake before the earthquake actually happens. In an era of 10-second instant payments, which we all know about, fraud doesn't happen in transactions. It happens in structures. And only structural intelligence can see structures. When deep fake fraud is up by 1,100%, when synthetic identities fool every classical AI system, you need intelligence that sees not what a transaction looks like, but what structural position it occupies in the financial ecosystem. So again, I'll have some of my Guru Bhais, Adarne Pratikji and Adarne Sumanji in the future in the sessions, and I think session 6, talk about how basically showing the prowess of structural intelligence in real time. They will be sharing a demo with you, which is mind-boggling. So you all should kind of look forward to that. I'm also looking forward to that again. But now, because I come from a fund management background and wealth management background, I wanted to know how structural intelligence could generate transformational returns for us as fund managers. In simple terms, structural intelligence can guide fund managers and help them to decide when to buy, when to hold, when to sell. And this, many people do say that they can do it, but when you follow structural intelligence, it can help you outperform a benchmark by a huge margin. And that's what we were trying to look at, and I'll share a little bit with you on that. But you must know that this is sector agnostic and jurisdiction agnostic. So therefore, it can be applicable to any financial problem to solve. Gauravji, if you could kindly put the slides on the screen. I wanted to give an example of how we are leveraging the prowess of structural intelligence to solve a problem which is live and create a value proposition, a financial value proposition out of it. So can we have the 2 slides on the screen, please?
Slides are on.
The first one. Is it already on?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Again, on my screen, I'm not even. Anyways, I'm assuming you're seeing the first slide, which is the $2 trillion problem. So this tells you how big a problem it is for the entire mankind. In the era when everyone is talking about ESG and impact, it is one of the single most impact areas with potential of high returns. And water is something which touches every one of us, and it's the most kind of underlooked at by the whole financial community. So we wanted to see how structural intelligence could help us generate a huge amount of returns for people who invest in a fund like this. So we're looking at a multi-asset strategy which will focus on the global water space. We will leverage geodesic, blockchain, AI, and structural intelligence. If you look at the slide second, Gauravji, if you put the second slide, that basically gives you an idea how we have leveraged, looked at structural intelligence to help us in this. If you look at what basically Om Jana did, which is where the patent for the geodesic blockchain AI is, the Om Jana team backtested on 150 global water companies over 3 years, analyzing 3.3 million data points. And you know what? We got to know something really amazing. On an average, the portfolio outperformed by over 14.5% against the benchmark. I mean, anybody who's from the financial world here would know this is unheard of. You cannot outperform by such a huge margin. And this will create a seismic impact, in the field of fund management or the field of finance, where you can leverage structural intelligence to generate returns like this. I mean, just to give you an example, if you would have invested $100 million, then after 3 years, we would have made a net profit of around 64.9 million, which again is unheard of in terms of returns. So this was just to give you a kind of a simple example that this is where we are applying, structural intelligence. But this is not limited to something like this. You can apply structural intelligence, geodesic, blockchain, AI to any sphere in the world of finance. Of course, not only limited to finance, but other areas as well. But in the field of finance, it can be, I just talked about the fintech part of it. I'm just telling you about the fund management part of it. It can be linked to cybersecurity. It can be linked to so many other areas. So this is actually, I mean, all the people who are sitting in this room today and those people who are listening, they just need to get a cue from this, that structural intelligence is very soon going to change the whole world in terms of how we look at finance. So, I mean, we're looking forward to further margdarshan from Param Pujani Guruji on this. And this is really kind of amazing, what we are going to witness very soon. So with that, I think overstepped my 2 minutes, but I'll pass it back to Gauravji and the team there for the other speakers to speak. So, Nishwar.
Oh no, Shwetji, thank you. So just something I'll share about Amit Pothaji. So Guruji have given Amitji a blessing. See, if you understand how we have to be different, how we have to learn from it, Blackhawk, State Street, Vanguard, they actually rose at the same time. They became powerful at the same time, and they were each other's wall. They were not in a culture ki how the hell can you rise? Let me bring it down. There's no crack culture. What we are doing, and you will see many people here who are sitting here who got absolutely crazy blessings of Guruji to build the largest institutions. The ecosystem, the technology, the knowledge, and even capital will find itself. Everything will open its path if you follow the right direction. What is that path that opens your gateway? If you think this is of any value and resonating with you, the first thing you need to do is get your astral get done. See that blessing. Not everyone gets it. The who's who is after it, but everyone gets it. It is Bhagwan Shiv's most powerful divine good luck blessing. But anything and everything. You can save many lives. It saved my lifetime. I'm alive as a result of that. Amit Kotaji, the moment Amit Kotaji went for it as to get the immediate blessing Amitji received, and the roadmap and the blueprint is how to create something bigger than a black hole. If you are selfless, egoless, then be fearless and achieve the goal. Desireless is you can only think of what can achieve my own capacity, but the divine will give you world dominance and a clear blueprint, structural intelligence to give you that blueprint. Let's look at some of the blueprints. So we'll talk about. Can you quickly play the slides? Yeah. And we have a hard stop at 6:30 because 6:30 to 7:30 is very critical, very powerful demo. A lot of secret insights that I've shared with you on how structured intelligence, what it's doing for everyone. So we'll try and be as sharp as possible. Okay. So again, the intention is the $5 trillion convergence, and I'll spend just 1 minute of slide. The intention is for you to just have a glimpse of it, and we'll sit in detail. Move to the next slide, please. See, sports. I love sports. Lots of sports. Team owners are the mentors. So, and sports is going to be a structured intelligence is going to build mega multi. Right? Okay. So, media and biotech. It's actually all the structured intelligence will come down to one. So the companies that own routing layer where attention, health, data, and sovereign capital intersects will create the next generation of billionaires. We are giving you a billionaires playbook, right? We don't have time to play small. If the big game is not for you, you can leave today, right? Always it is of the silos that be my man, mera mujhe. We're not interested in that. If you can collaborate, these are the people, and then a huge community which will work with you. Ownership of the network is $1 trillion opportunity. If you're in for that game, stick around. Next slide, please. Sports, again, 1.5 trillion target, how we are seeing it, and breaking it down. Nothing is left to your thought. Every bit of precision, what to do in the next 10 years, what not to. Right? Global media, 4.5 trillion. Pharma and biotech. Again, this is the next 10 years. That's it. 3 trillion. A lot. Our journey for India is not for India to reach 10 trillion. Our journey is for India to deliver 10 trillion by that time. Right? So we are in a different league. This is Bhagwan Shiv's stratosphere. Right? Next level, please. Again, the sovereign capital we heard. So who we heard from? They are the royal family representatives, some of the largest capital mega trillion dollar royal families and their representation. We heard from Britain. We also heard from royal families from Europe. Right? So again, the capital is, it will all flow into India, but to whom? We have to create those ecosystems and solid, ethical, selfless, ethical ecosystems. So much capital has moved from Dubai. It was meant to move from Dubai to India. It is Russian capital was to come to India. It is a brotherly nation. Dubai was a stopover. It was never meant to be permanently residing in Dubai. Right? It is now sitting in Hong Kong and Singapore. It has not gone to China. It is waiting to come to India, but we need to rise up and have those institutions, right? 50 trillion is waiting. So what are we waiting for? Okay, move forward. So one such opportunity, again, I think we'll behave. Sir, please. Yeah. So again, other than Dr. Mayur Shati is a celebrated person in the media space. 8,500 corporate films. His career is unheard of. Also, was specially requested by Adina Shishani. We are in NSE as the SID program, right? Biography has been written by Adina Mayushani. So, sorry, over to you. Talk about this, and maybe we'll take just 2 minutes.
Yeah. So, thank you, and over to Mayurji. So we have decided to build the world's largest media capability center, and that will be run out of India. So we are building the global storytelling takeover. So the media capability center will define how the media operates around the world. We will, with a lot of leaders, including Adaniya Mayurji, we are joining hands, and the capability center is in late phase. So आशीर्वाद गुरुजी का है कि हम कम्युनिटी सेंटर बनाएंगे और उस पे अब हमारा काम शुरू है, आप लोगों के साथ चाहिए. So over to you.
What India has this rich integrity, its young minds, its adaptability, and that is what we are going to encash on in terms of teaching on all our communication. True. I have seen a lot of global international clients whose creative outputs are very poor because they live in a very materialistic world. While we have a spiritualistic background, and our output is always higher than our material output. So I think we have a creative party in India becomes the center of such as a communication center and use out the best of its creative energy, best of channels through to the world, and we have service to so many global industries to grow. And as we grow along with them, they will also be part of the prospering ability. That is our vision. With your collaboration, GURUJI'S blessings, everything little a copper. Hey. Good.
So now it will take not more than 4 minutes, right? So because there is some positive time. There are so on Israel, India, Greece. So we have other than Daniel Bernardji joining us from Israel. And Daniel ji, Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya, Bob-ji. How are you?
Mike going, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Excellent. So again, I think as I said, the next session is going to be extremely important. So 3 questions, Daniel ji, I have. I'll lay them out and maybe you can read them in a couple of minutes. Question 1 is, you know about Israel, India, you know about Guruji's blessing, special love for Israel. Guruji calls Israel the brotherly nation, right? Then you are also, you're a sports investor, you've had a lot of success in sports, and clearly we're talking about the next many big things in sports. And third is, which is again my favorite, is you've had the blessings of astrology, right? So just, all these 3 things, what are your thoughts on that?
So first of all, it's a real blessing for me. I always find it interesting to understand and look at how our individual paths lead us to meet with other people in the world and connect on a certain level with other people. And here I am, blessed to be, even if it's just virtual, is in a room with all of you wonderful people. And I thank you, Laura, for this. And the only thing that's lacking is if I could be there with you in person, but unfortunately it's not possible this time. If we think about first, all of the things you mentioned, we talk about Israel, India, which is a very important and close thing to my heart, and then sports, and then Astraliga. I actually see a commonality across all of them. First of all, just to give a little bit of context, yes, I live in Israel. I was born in England, but I live in Israel for 26 years now. Israeli, very Israeli. I raised my family in Israel. My mother was born in Mumbai to Iraqi parents, and the Iraqi Jewish community enjoyed great hospitality from the Indian community and grew to very great strengths. I think, as we saw in the video before from Guruji. And my mother was born to an Iraqi Jewish family before she moved to the UK. So in my heritage, I have a lot of passion and love for the Indian community. And I think that when we look at alignments between nations, for me, it makes total sense that Israel and India will be aligned. A lot of modern day politics are run on short-term interests. Whereas when we look at India and Israel, and even beneath that, or even above that, or wrapped in that, is Judaism and Hinduism, we are very similar in peoples. We have 2 young nations that are built on the foundations of ancient people. And the collaboration here it can be absolutely enormous. It already is in many, many levels. And the reason is that we are philosophically aligned. We are culturally aligned. The civilizations of the Jewish people and the Hindu people is aligned. When I spend my time in India, I am in awe at the constant push for innovation. And I see it reflected in how things are in Israel as very much a startup nation, constantly pushing for progress, never stopping, always looking to innovate, to be more and more technological. And when I look at the past and we see temples in India that belie their age, you see the science mixed with art in a way that is incredible to think these things were built hundreds of years ago. I see it reflected in the city of David in Jerusalem. And I think that the future built on our past can be very, very bright if we align. When we think about sports, for me, sports, I've been in the sports industry for 26, 27 years now. And sports is never just about sports. It is one of the best connectors between human people, between people in every level. We create our emotions through sport, our passion. I'm a big cricket follower, so every time I'm in India, I enjoy, if it's in season, to watch an IPL game. It is an incredible connected between people. And that is why I love sport, not because of the game itself. It's because of what it does for us as people and how it drives our emotion. And sometimes sports business misses sight of that. And that's where I think the sports business industry is moving in often the wrong way recently, where people invest in the wrong things because they're looking at a balance sheet rather than understanding the impact of the sport on people. If we look even in India itself, the purchase of a franchise of the IPL has become very much a vanity and influence play. And that is legitimate if that's what people need. For me personally, if you want to buy an IPL team, do it with a vision to connect with the younger generation, because there are so many young Indians who are, who through their love of sport and their passion, they want to become better. They want to keep pushing forward. Again, that Indian mentality of constantly progressing. So if you want to buy an IPL team, buy it with the vision of connecting to communities as well, and not just as a vanity or an influence play. Through influence, you can create an amazing impact, but the impact is done through the masses always. And when we think about that, the connection between people, whether it's at the national level, Israel, India, whether it's at a more spiritual level, Judaism, Hinduism, whether it's on the playing field like sports, it's all connecting through us and our spirituality. And that's why when I was introduced to Astro Yoga, it made sense to me. The world is very, very chaotic right now. It becomes very blurry. We have difficulty seeing clarity through all of these clouds, especially living here in the Middle East. We are under constant pressure all the time. We are very used to it. And we need to see clarity, what is really important and what's not important. And for me, the blessing of Astro Yoga gives that. And it's a blessing that comes externally, but it is felt internally. And when you feel that, you feel a strength, you feel that peace, and that peace is absolutely invaluable when the world around you is doing crazy. And that's what is happening right now. And so despite what is happening in the world, I feel through my human connection, through the brothers and sisters around the world who I feel very connected to, through my spiritual blessings, I feel calm and I feel a strength that I think would not be possible without that understanding. Thank you, Gauravdeep.
Amazing. And the beauty is the depth with which, right? Now just extending that to, again, industry leader legend, Sushil and Jiwarika ji, right? So, a few words from you, especially on India, Greece, right?
Thank you, Gaurav. Heard some amazing speeches since the time I came, and a lot of learnings with the blessings of Guruji. So first of all, Om Namah Shivaya. And happy to be the Honorary Consul General of Greece for the last 7 years. And it's a coincidence that till 7 years ago, people were willing to write off Greece as a banana republic. But there has been an amazing transformation. A new Prime Minister, right-wing guy came, Harvard-educated fellow in the mid-50s. He completely transformed it. And in the year 2024, The Economist voted it as the best performing economy in the world. Given that today they are able to borrow monies from at a lower interest rate than even Italy. So there's an amazing transformation. And maybe I've been blessed to be the Consul General at this time. I played a key role in upgrading the relationship to a strategic partnership and defense cooperation agreement. We organized Mr. Modi to go after 43 years to Greece, and the Prime Minister to come here after 40 years. And a tremendous amount of work is being organized in partnership with them, especially in the area of marine and ports and shipping. We got the direct flight started between Mumbai, Delhi, and Athens. And geopolitically, Greece will become the most important country in the whole of Europe, simply because it sits in the Mediterranean Sea. And within half an hour, you can be in 3 continents, Asia, Africa, and Europe. So if you have a logistics hub in Greece, you could be addressing nearly 40% of the world's population. Greece has been known to be a major shipping nation, shipbuilding nation,
the world's biggest shipping event happens in Greece, and the Greek shipping magnates, because they are privately held and they don't appear on social media, they are still some of the wealthiest guys in the world. Okay. Now, what is the reason why Greece will become so important is the building of the IMEC corridor, which is India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. It will start at Vardhman port to the north of Mumbai. It will go through Haifa port in Israel and it will end in Greece. And this will become the new Silk route of the current century, because this will bypass the Suez Canal. A part of it will be on land on the high-speed rail across the desert of Saudi Arabia. And so this choke points, the two choke points, Suez Canal and Hormuz Strait, will be eliminated, and it will cut both cost and time by 40%. And therefore, America is taking great interest currently in US. Somebody very close to Mr. Trump has been made ambassador to Greece. And I see tremendous amount of opportunities, but as media entertainment that they spoke about, why should Bollywood films not be shot in Greece? And already, since they started talking about it, many film units are going there. Another continent that I wanted to talk about was about Africa. You know, we were a breakaway part from African continent. That's how India got formed and the Himalayas were formed. And so there is a very natural affinity between Indians and Africans. Gandhiji came from there. Dhirubhai Ambali came from there. Most of them have come and had the education, and they come here for medical tourism. Why is it so relevant? If you see the total population of Africa, it is exactly the same as India. Okay. The demographic profile is exactly the same as India. In fact, they are cheap. They are younger than India. They have 6 times the land mass of India. Their topsoil is not eroded. Today you can acquire 100,000 or 1 million hectares under single ownership at a literally throwaway price or 20,000-30,000 rupees an acre. You can buy that. And Africa is blessed with great sunshine. So it's the ideal country for solar energy production. And yet, at the moment, it is less than 5% of the total world solar energy production, which should actually go up to at least 25%. And there is where India can be a huge role in taking the technologies that we have developed here to Africa. So, low-cost, proven innovation of India is what will drive innovation in the global south, led by Africa. In the words of Mr. Stautu, President of Finland, when he came to address the Rachana dialogue, he said that the center of gravity is shifting to India, which will lead the initiative of the global south, and who will then lead the new institutions that are going to be built. The existing ones are already ruptured, in the words of Mark Carney, and a new world order is going to be made. So let us participate in it. They are endowed with rich minerals, critical minerals, and energy assets. And this is what is going to define who's going to rule in the future.
Thank you, Ji. For Shivji, absolutely amazing. And again, Guruji's always said, Africa is our tall big basket. And with your guidance, with Guruji's blessing, clear strategy we've had, Guruji also talked about it. A lot of wealth, trillions and trillions will be accumulated. But if you did Ram Tattva, Krishna Tattva, Buddhas, right? Ram Tattva means your empowerment and empowerment of every marginalized person around you. Right? This is what Africa struggles with, the resources. Krishna Tattva says collective strength and power to stand alongside each other. And Buddha says that unless I have eliminated all evil, how can I peacefully work? Right? Now, that beautifully brings us to the next session, right? Which is, I'll pass it over to Dr. Prophecies, right? Session 6, Omnivision.
The cup says, very cup says,
Oh, no, sure. Thank you. Dhanyavad so much, Guruji. So I think we will get started. If you can play Puneetji, if you can play my session 6 deck. So this is a session about harnessing cutting-edge technologies for wealth creation. We will, right after the session, you spend 10 minutes of the session, and then Somaji is going to move on to the demo of the prototypes of structural intelligence. So hopefully I'll go through very, very quickly. If I may request Harshanji and Prashantji, Harshanji and Prashantji, if you can come a little bit closer for this particular session, it would be very useful. Thank you so much. Just so that I can just relate to Harshanji, please. Okay, while Harshanji and Prashantji is making their way over here, I will get started. A 275 trillion algebraic distribution, 275 trillion is what we take as a wealth that will be redistributed in the next 10 years on cutting edge technologies only. So it's very, very interesting. Harshanji, maybe outside? Yeah. Prashantji? But I think important thing is that the capital, labor and data are no longer structural modes as they have been in the past. Between 2026 and 2036, wealth will be strictly redistributed and mathematical connectivity. There is no place for ego. I know this is maths, but the tattva behind this is there is no place for ego. हम लोग अकेले आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते हैं. आज इस कक्ष में हम जमा हुए हैं, they're in this room only to ensure that we are all together, we are creating an ecosystem. ये ecosystem empower होगा and we lead in $275 trillion worth of wealth. Right? Next slide. But mathematical connectivity means no ego. We have to be all connected by maths. It means we need to has an ecosystem. Next slide. Before I get started, I want to just tell you, show you very small clip by Guruji on what innovation and technology management means, right? In future. Please go ahead.
Ask yourself a simple question. That what technologies will make today's advanced technologies redundant? And invest in that. Innovation management and technology management is the most important aspect a country should have. While you should master modern advanced technologies, you should simultaneously invest in those technologies which 10 years hence will make today's modern advanced technologies redundant. Let me give you a practical example. The domain of artificial general intelligence. The domain of AGI, that is artificial general intelligence, enabled robotics. The domain of artificial general intelligence enabled additive manufacturing, especially multi-material 3D printing. So a 3D printer which uses multiple metals, composites, to make nuanced and complicated objects. 4D printing that works with intelligent composites, objects that can change the forms, shapes, real time. These are some of the examples of what India should be investing in. Also understand one thing. Innovation should be intelligently mapped and connected. Three things: geology, geography, geoborders. For example, a landlocked country, if it spends too much time in designing ships, it's money down the drain because it doesn't have ocean. It cannot become a huge ship-making industry. So you have to understand your geology, what material is available, your geography, and your geopolitics.
Oh, no, Mishwa. Next slide, me. So basically, structural intelligence is a framework that brings together geology, geo-economics, and geopolitics. This framework does it. There is no other framework that does it. The way structural intelligence does it. So, you saw the direction that Guruji gave us 10 years hence, right? We have to think about innovation management is a technology that 10 years hence is going to be today's advanced technology and redundant. That is what we want to do with structural intelligence. That's exactly how we want to set up our thought process, our ways of thinking, our ways of working. So in terms of just on the topic itself, there are 4 different clusters. $275 trillion is at 4 different clusters from a priority high standpoint in terms of technology that are going to be very, very revolutionary in the next 10 years. You all know about it, but I still want to put it there in terms of what structured intelligence analysis has been. The first is cognitive governance, AGI, artificial general intelligence, quantum computing, neuromorphic, and BCI. BCI is brain computer interface, right? So basically, these are the 4 areas that we show on the left hand side are the first cluster that will deliver estimated returns in the next 10 years. Number 2 is physical automation, physical AI, humanoids, advanced materials, and space economy. In terms of cutting edge technologies, these are the kind of companies, these are kind of areas we want to invest in. They are going to grow. Yes, you have to show discretion in terms of which companies in these areas to buy. Overall, looking at it, these 4 areas will go. Biological and energy and infrastructure, biotechnology, next energy, and climate tech. These are 2 areas that you want to look at in detail in terms of the kind of companies that you want to invest in, right? And then network topology, blockchain, real world assets, 6G and spatial web, and our own structural intelligence, right? Not only structural intelligence itself, the structural intelligence is going to be a is going to be a great area to invest in. The mandate is capital timing, intercepting the exact moment a technology shift from science project to alpha generating asset. The exact moment. Don't be late. Okay, but what are those exact moments? Puniti, next slide. What are those exact moments, sir? I'm not going to spend too much time, but I'm telling you what those exact moments are. And who are the companies that we think you should look at very carefully? हर सवारी इतने सामान की खुद से गवा रहा है, but हम बता सकते हैं बस कहाँ जा रही है. Now, through 2026, all infra hyperscalers, peak revenue, companies like NVIDIA and Microsoft are just getting started. Let's think about it that way, right? Now, through 2026, RWA tokenization rails, everybody talks about hyperscalers. So I'm going to just say, yes, they're going to do well. But RWA tokenization, right? RWA is real world assets, right? Tokenization, everything. All finance guys here, in respect, they will tell you, tokenization is a big deal. And if you don't know about it, you can talk a little bit. You can ask us what tokenization is and what to, but Circle, pre-IPS, Securitize, Ondo, all of these are RWA tokenization companies. It's an area that everybody should look at. Firm power PPAs, power purchase agreements, right? With AI coming, the need for power is exponential because it's not being driven by you and I, but it's being driven by what computing industries and us are. So PPAs are an area that you want to look at. What kind of companies? You can look at Constellation, Vistra, direct PPAs. Think about investments in those areas. Next 10 years, I'm talking about. Next 10 years. GLP-1 leaders, GLP-1 drugs. If you know GLP-1 drugs, they're the drugs that make you fight diabetes, but also have a side effect of making you thin. You should now instead become the major user of GLP-1 drugs, but they're going to fall off the patent cliff very, very soon. And you want to invest in companies like Eli Lilly, NBO after the correction. NBO has had the correction has happened. Then there is Aspen Aerogels. This is a company that does installation, right? Installation in the areas of in the batteries, right? So 2-hour charging. It's a very, very good company. GP38031 is a battery mandate, is a battery body mandate from China. And we know how advanced China is and BYD is in battery technology. Then you have post-quantum crypto companies like Palo Alto and BTC, pre-IPO. PNW is a ticker for Palo Alto. SpaceX and Starlink IPO, quantum and 6G from 2028 to 2030. 2028 to 2030. This is not a play for today. Please understand what we are thinking is it's a play for 2028 to 2030. 2030 to 2033 is fusion energy optic, right? So कब क्या करना है हमें लगता है ये technology, right? This is what we feel is going to happen in double cutting technology. Yes, sir.
So in depth of the days.
We can certainly please sit in an offline discussion that is Sir Black talk to you about.
It's called the secret which is called Shiva, sir.
There's not into investment because that's very interesting subject for all of societies. Ultimately, we are all tied to ego and material. We will think like that. Now we understand that. Absolutely, they have a discussion. So these are all the this is what we think. We have a much detailed report that we are happy to share with you. A much more detailed. I had so much data. Quality said 5 minutes. Okay, as an I'm going to try to do in 5 minutes. Now, with having said that, what I would request is I have 3 industry leaders here. I have Harshal PhD from LIT Defense. I have
Understand
And there are creators in this country, they're only this country. So we have to pay for some energy.
Very interesting that creators, we want to make L&T Defense the creator. We want to be the power behind that. Hopefully, like by the blessings of Param Puji Shiv Swarup Rashi Shri Hari Guruji. Also, I would like Riturajji, if you have, if you can just give us Riturajji from the ground from Grace, right? You have.
Riturajji, if you stand by,
We just said I'm very honored here. We represent the industry. So License for Us is a upstart. It's also a startup. It's listed company recently, and some of the things we've done is we have made great strides in tokenization. So in Dubai, we own pre-leased natural assets of almost 2,000 crores. And the idea is that we will be able to tokenize that because of a new act called VARA, which will be passed in Dubai, that allows for tokenization of real estate assets. The second thing that we want to do is in India, we want to participate in fractionalization, which will eventually will lead to tokenization through the creation of small NVA real estate investment trusts, which will allow common people to own very, very expensive assets. But the ticket size will be about 10 lakhs. So it will increase the participation of common people in what were considered to be grade A institutional real estate assets. So these are two things that we're excited about and will directly change the game. First, there's a lot of application of AI called already happy real estate. When it comes to construction material design, collaboration tools, robots, also design of at a township level, at an architectural level. So much an applying AI is affected, but structural intelligence and the possibility is something that we are still grappling with, but I think it has tremendous future. Right.
You always wanted to own a piece of Gujarat. Hopefully, how you make us own a piece of, Gujarat. And also, this Tahashinji mentioned power unlock for, reducing the power for GPUs. Incidentally, Sumanji talked about one of the proper statements that they're doing for reducing the power unlock on the GPUs as well. So I'm going to have a request. Since Avanji, a prominent distinction, this is about the fintech industry and also where you see that contact creator over here.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. So I represent owns fintech operator. We are RBI holding company. So we own the entire India's data, like I shipment, every laboratory data. So we are present manager like UPA. So this scan your money goes to one like top to another. Oh, say like your data goes to one financial institution to another financial institution. So we do this license to empower inclusive financial inclusion to the every Indians. So that is a vision that we kept with Sriramji, that we working in the space of PFSI. We help PFSI cellular entities, PA party license holders to give the data. It gives a holistic financial view to the every years. So our vision is to make every year have balance sheet in and within 10 seconds. So that's a vision we are helping with this our MLA solution. So currently there are almost 40 load consents are already involved. Every month, 1 to 2 crore consents are generated by.
That would be great to have that other sheet in 10 seconds would really, really awesome. So with that, we move on to the next part of our session, which is obviously the demos. So Puneet, if you can move to the next slide. Yeah, okay. I have one more slide, which I wanted to say, but there's only one technology, and it is the structure itself. हम किसी भी technology की बात करें, it's really ultimately all the structure. Every CEO should walk into this session with one action item. I will measure the structural health index of my organization by Q3 2026. Only structure will survive. And that's what you believe in next 10 years is a number. If you don't understand the structure of a company, the market that you're operating in, more importantly, even if you understand the structure, if you can't react to you're in for a rough one. I mean, just volatility of the last 12 months will tell you, I'll 24 months will tell you what is happening. How enabled and empowered you are to reply is what is important. And with that, we will move on to the prototype demos. Next. Okay. Architecture of structural intelligence, next evolution systems, prototype demonstrations. Next. Somebody, please.
Namaskar to everybody. The Kuli's blessings. Very fortunate to be here, meeting all of you, having this session, and sharing some of those early success stories that we are seeing in structural intelligence. I think all evening we had different layers, the core, structural intelligence, and their different applications. So I want the fortune of now, for the last few months, to be working with really large companies, incubating this, large banks, telecom companies, financial companies. And one of the success stories we heard from Amidst. And today I wanted to, in a sort of a capsule, share some of those early success stories and all of these are active customer here. So you can actually see how it's being applied. So this is really like the rubber meets the road plan. Now, before I do that, a quick sort of introduction. I've been in AI industry for the last 20-45 years. Since the late 90s, when it was one of considered very wise to get into artificial. Nobody knew that in the late 90s. It was all of my friends, I graduated from IIT, all of my friends went to US or got into MBA, and you know the standard track. It was considered, okay, you finish your IIT, you go be here. That was the kind of thinking in the next. So sort of went against the tide, ended up doing my master's using KI. And I think that was not the first crazy thing I did. I did many crazy things. But I'm glad I invested the time and went against the tide because we can see how the kind of AI enabled and technology enabled here. And in my last 25 years of AI consulting experience, have lived in different geographies, lived in US, lived in Canada for a long time, and now we're in Spain for the last 4 years. And I think that's another long story of how I ended up in Spain. And it was an interesting experience, living in a non-English speaking country and looking at the world from a non-English nation, and then having to pick up a new language so I can truly say I'm multilingual way. And so it's an interesting experience last 4 years. Now, let me give you the kind of a pretext behind how this genesis of this site. I think that's very interesting how we started this journey. Few long time being in the field of AI, like I think some in the room are right? They have a background in AI. Although having my technical education in AI, I always had this feeling of discomfort with AI because always felt we are doing very sophisticated, perfect at the end of the day. Just looking at this sort of data and understanding patterns, you had this kind of nagging sense of, is this really what AI is about? And I think I started the inquiry with Purvesh's blessings, started the inquiry to figure out what intelligence itself actually means. Now, if I asked you the question, what do you think intelligence actually means to you? Like, question is ask you the question, you might have an answer, okay, it is a power to reason, it's a power of, thinking logically, and if I ask you energy, you might come with a completely different. Well, that's the thing. I remember reading this paper on intelligence. What is exactly intelligence? You'd be surprised to today there are about 50 different points of view on what exactly is intelligence. And often many of them they don't align. So they don't uniform today, there's no accepted definition internationally saying this is exactly what it is. That's where I started my work. So in the Gurukul, where we are really encouraged to think about technology connected to spirituality, and we do a lot fusion between these different areas. So during the course of the conversations, I had satsang to Guruji, what is intelligence? So Guruji actually told me a Sanskrit quote at that time. He said, Swarupam iti pragya iti bhava. There's a Sanskrit saying there. It's very interesting. It comes from an Hindu philosophy and thought, which essentially, if you sort of translate to English, it usually means for a system, a complex system, to understand its true form, then from there arises intelligence, emergent intelligence, which is a reflection of the divine spirit. That's actually so that was a starting point for all of us to see where is the intelligence come. So that's where the entire structured intelligence concept came in. Again, it was a multidisciplinary work with Guruji's guidance, with different mathematicians, physicists, evolutionary biologists, and therefore we believe that to truly solve this problem with AI, we needed a truly multidisciplinary approach. And then we started looking into structures, topologies, relationships, flows, and then studying all the laws of nature, we put the applicable and say, can we use a different starting point for what we think it ought to be? That was the genesis of that. So with that, let me dive into some of these. Is there anything I can clear this? Suman, you just have to present your screen on to Jahan or share it. And Puriji, please project that full screen here. Would you experience your
So I'm about to see something.
This is a mighty network. Router is this. This could be a war scenario.
Yeah.
Aircrafts, drones, stacks, satellites, any network. So what we're seeing as a network here, financial network, right? It could be network of ATMs, network of any network. When you think about this, think about it from a network standpoint, right? Anything can be a network. Network of families, network of people, any network. Just have that thinking add on, then we're not speak IT. The use case is IT. But the applicability is...
thank you, Billy. And can you make it a little clearer? It kind of looks a little happy or my glasses are not working. Is it better? So the problem statement, the way they're related, and after discussion with a few clients, simple things that you might think are very simple. Is okay, if I make a certain change to my network, let's say I change a firewall rule, how does it impact the other firewall? Typically, they have firewalls from different vendors. How does it impact my flows? How does it impact, what are the rules do I need to change? You can make a change to a policy, what is the impact on my system? Or if I add a new device, how should I provision a new device? Which tier should it belong to? Normally, all of these big banks and big telcos, they have a tier structure for the network based on which applications are supposed to talk to internet, which are really internal business facing applications, and some which are sort of in between. So that usually you have, normally there's a kind of a internet BMC, secure enterprise internet. If I add a provision a new device, where should I put it actually? What system should it come to? And if I do that, what are all the rules, all the policies that can be taken? And for a small network, only a few hundred servers is not a big problem. You can manage it. But something with becomes millions of devices, 50,000 devices, 100,000 and going to millions, I would start becoming problem. Because I realized talking with them, their view of the networks is very static. They look at everything as parts. Okay, I have a certain file and server, or there's some configuration which is sitting on a firewall. And they look at a very static view of the world, thinking that, okay, this represents what my network is. But in reality, the way the network behaves, what is this, right? There is a disconnect between it. There's a gap between it. Then I realized, okay, this is really the source of the problem. They don't have a real-time input there. Now, all the tools that I looked at in network management space had a similar problem. That they were looking at huge amount of data, but they was not necessarily constructing a view of the network in real time. So there are no real-time view into out there. So then we looked at the common applied structure data. They said, okay, we don't need a whole lot of terabytes of your data. They said, look, they've got all these different logs from Splunk and Tufin and all of those terabytes. So but said, look, I don't need all that. Just give me real-time traffic from your net flow system. Just every 5 minutes, 15 minutes, just give me the traffic. So what we'll do is we'll apply all of the structural operators. Some of these structural operators you can see at the bottom. They are not typically, network management does not typically look at each one of us. Some of them, for example, network one way is it's kind of in a good condition and there are change sentinel when something changes in the network. So we said we'll construct a real-time view of your network as your flows are. So instead of considering your config files as a source of truth, why don't you look at what's happening on your traffic as a source of truth? use that as an impact analysis, then manage our gatekeeping. Just prepare. So that was the solution. It's not can you do that? It's not okay.
So, Zuti, can you explain what structural operators are? What is a structural operator?
Yeah, some of these, for example, network health is basically structured integrity is a different algebraic topology, which is measuring the strength of the connection between each one of those, how the traffic is flowing between each one of these. And when you measure a baseline, you baseline it saying, hey, this is my baseline, I measure it at what? This is my normal state of a network. So when degradations happen, it starts dropping. And it's very sensitive. Any kind of rule change which somebody makes, you can really see an impact from a networks. And then there are many more. There are some for discovering boundary conditions. Where, for example, there are hidden management networks. For discovering those, you can use some of those boundary options. So there are a bunch of these.
This is how the structure is read using these structural operators.
Yeah.
These are essential part of our structured business model creation.
Yeah.
Structural operators are the one that help us read the structure of an enterprise, of a family, of a defense system, what have you, right? These are offered the thousand structural operators. We will using 15 or 20, I think there's 64 structural operators.
So yeah, correct. So then what we did now, the demo that you will see now, I obviously is not real data because I can't use customer data fully, but I've kind of faithfully created a simulation of it. I have some backend agents here which then go and bring up the config files on demand. And then I have traffic which is I'm simulating in the backend. You can see the timer there. Every few minutes you get traffic into a system. And then all of these operators are getting computed. And then we said to do all of the impact analysis, what page of GUE, we actually created a complete chatbot for it. The chatbot that you see to your right. And now it is started. And then the users now actually deal with the network just using your chat. You can ask whatever question you want and it's able to figure out an answers to it. Now, it takes a few seconds. Now, all of these different areas, right? For example, he just asked a question thing, what are my network? You can ask pretty much any question on your network because this chatbot was trained for understanding the entire network. It has an interface to the structural toolbox. It can interpret all of those results in real time and build analysis. So just keep going. This is just an example of what is the network actually you plan. Now let's pick a specific device on this network. So what Subir is starting, he say, tell me about Kafka, which is basically a sort of message queue that's used. And you can ask even simple questions like this. Yeah. Alright. So he basically asks, so what you see in the backend when he's saying, tell me about Kafka 1. So it is looking at the stress peak nodes in the network, seeing all the traffic that is happening, seeing all the dependencies, seeing what are the rules that are coming in the way, seeing all the policies. He basically comes out with an entire list of it. Can scrap to it. Yeah. So now let's kind of do some simulation. Now let's look at some rules and then we'll change some rules, we'll add some new rules and then we'll see all the impact.
And I mean, think about this way, Farshati, in defense scenario, you're in the defense field, right?
Yeah.
This is your military, this is your land-based systems, this is your airborne, space, water, right? All kinds of systems, right?
So what a data house.
Yeah. So think about this, right? I mean, while we are doing all of that, you could think about all of these four, the green being the land-based platform, the blue being the sea, the brown being the space-based systems, aerospace, maybe a fourth one being some other platform, right? And once you have the network, once you have the sensors feeding, once you have the network, you can start coding things. You can do an impact analysis, what-if analysis. You can think about this being different molecules, in a drug discovery, being mapped on a structure. You can ask about what the impact of those molecules is going to be. Things that take months to do. After structurally getting the
this actually solved one of the big problems because if you see, when he asked the question about message queue in the path and different connections, they say different vendors. So they say, look, I have all these devices from different vendors. So I don't have a unified view across all my vendors. So this provides you a uniform view. Now it solves what this says. There are a few rules, inbound as well as outbound rules. Now let's kind of investigate some of these rules. You can go as deep as you want. I mean, you can go into a network, you can change things, you can add rules, delete rules. Today, all of this is very manual through meetings, and often these large networks, they make all these decisions with about 80% knowing out other 20% is, hey, let's see Discourse. I mean, if it goes wrong, we can fix it like. Now he's asking the question, what if I remove one of these rules? So now we're doing impact analysis, saying a certain specific rule, if I do that, what really happens? So in the back end, what's going on is every time you ask a question, there is an interface to the structure toolbox. It kind of figures out what are the different requests in the backend that it must make to actually get that information. And you can go, there's an agent which can go and grab that information at your time. And if any changes need to be done, agents can go and make those changes. You can automate it to that extent. Now here it says, when you ask an impact of a rule, it assesses it at different levels. What is the business impact? What is the operational impact? And what is the technical impact of making each one of these changes? Now this rules, okay, I don't think we'll go into the actual description of this, but there's a detailed explanation of these. Let's see if you can, okay. Go ahead and rule this. It's actually as simple as just getting rid of a rule. Let's go and chat with its backend and its now. Now you can see that, just one rule removed, you can see the impact on your health. Then network health is immediately dropped. Just that factor of removing one rule. Now let's say, look, you can tell me over the back.
This is command and control at work. Except you're a network administrator here. You could be a strategic battle operation runner over here. Just visualize that. You could be a fraud cybersecurity administrator. You could be a fund manager running his funds. What if I do this? What is going to happen? This is what's going to happen, right? What if you do this? I mean, you are now being smart. Structure is making you smart, right? And more complex the statement, the better structural intelligence can help you.
Yeah. Now, and also, one very cool thing about this is you can do simulations. If the network administrators or network engineers made a change, now you can ask that I'm going to make this change, study the impact of this, and then decide, okay, do I want to make this thing here? Today, it's not very super hard to do that. It requires network engineers to go and check out a lot of configurations in different systems, do an analysis, possibly a few meetings, an architecture review, and all of that before they take a decision. But it's like it's said. Let's ask let's ask about something we do with this stuff. Okay, now this is a simulation hypothetical question. If something goes down, what is my blast radius and how quickly does it spread through my? Basically, now there's a lot of phases being applied. In this specific question, we are looking at the concepts of heat propagation, and heat dissipation. Using some of those concepts to network, we will see how fast the things can actually go down. Now, if we see some of these numbers, it says that there's T 0.01 second, what happens, 0.25, 0.10, and so on and so forth. And you can see that, okay, all the primary impact is inside this gear. This is a complete analysis at the A. Alright. Next.
With this impact analysis, imagine if a fund manager is using it, or a defense administrator is doing, or somebody else like that is doing it, they can do what if analysis. Today they depend on some pattern fitting somewhere, and future is not the best representative of the past, right? But structure is always best representative of how things are doing. It's a next level paradigm shift in terms of thinking.
Sir, could we is the drop around these error work?
It's a very politically sensitive question.
Here's yeah. Here, I think we can keep working on. There are a lot of things we can do. But as the interest of time, I'm going to keep this short. Add a lot more demo cases in this, adding a new device, removing that device.
I think the just important thing is to remember is that what is the intelligence behind this? It's not LLMs. It's the structural intelligence. It's the operators and their understanding of the structure, and then use it for giving you intelligence. Chat is something that's a good user interface, is using LLMs to tell you, but it's really interpreting what the structural operators are doing in the background. It's not their own. So there is no hallucination. There is none of that data dependency.
No, in fact, the hardest part in this was actually to remove the hallucination. Because it was hallucinating sometimes. So we have to work on this chat a lot to ensure that all of the numbers that are being presented in chat are only coming from AGI costs only from the structural toolbox, ensure that nothing is being cooked up. That was what is planned.
Hopefully, when you have APIs running technical structured toolbox, all of those problems are going to go away, because ultimately this will become the brain. When it becomes the brain, it's going to feed from all the systems and will give you feed to all the systems. You know, what if I take out this? What if these three Sukhoi 57s do something somewhere, right? It's going to tell you, okay, what if a general is making that based on his heuristics? Today, generals make a decision based on heuristics, right? Or AI does decision based on the past. But completely everything, like Sumanji, you didn't do justice to this party.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't talk about it, but let me just talk to you about what you see as a hash chain immutable chain. This is not a full blockchain. This is kind of one step towards a blockchain. But everything that we do in terms of, let's say, a certain rule is removed, you add a certain rule, you take a decision, all of that gets locked into the. So from audit standpoint, you get everything of all the action that you actually took on it. It's completely in a production system. What will be different is you'll have a blockchain. And you'll also have a reinforcement learning at GA layer just to make sure some of these structural parameters are very tuned ready. But this is a non-production system, the demo that I'm showing you. Like Pratikji was saying, see, this applies to any sort of a network. We applied to the concept of all of this physics and mathematics. And you know what information actually was used to actually generate this? You'd be shocked actually. I only needed 4 pieces of information. From the logs, there are terabytes of logs. I just needed source IP, destination IP, the number of bytes and the kinds of it. That's all I needed for this. So I can net traffic. That's actually not even the traffic. That's metadata for the traffic. I'm not even doing keep packet inspection. I'm not even looking into the packet. I'm not looking at protocols. Just pure physics and mathematics. That's a power that you get from. All right.
And also, I just want to tell you that maybe there's appreciation, maybe there's not. But customers, the experts, you present this to the experts, they cannot believe what they're seeing.
Yeah, I think we can skip to the next demo. I mean, you can go on, but essentially, this gives you an idea. This gives you an idea of how you can manage networks. Yeah.
I think everything in this entire is all topological geometry, algebraic topology, physics, vector calculus, all kinds of physics theorems. I think we discussed it yesterday also. Some sophisticated math, some sophisticated transforms, all natural algorithms, you know. We were looking at a Major G theorem this morning to applicability to something. Major G theorem. 1936, that theorem was discovered. In 1936, very sophisticated use case one I have expert. No, Major G theorem. I think आप देख लो क्या like what Major G is. Theorem in 1936, but used so interesting in structural intelligence. So very, very interesting.
Yeah, and this parting of the next one.
And also the explainability of this entire network, because it's deterministic in nature, explainability is there. What decision, if you want to automate your decisions, you want to know exactly why the decision was taken, correct? You want to know why that happened. Complete explainability through blockchain is built into the framework, right? So you can see your decisions, how they're happening, what happened, what did not happen. Everything is clearly documented. So you can understand what is happening. Artificial intelligence and machine learning is something that lacks in explainability. Context is slapped on. This is contextually born. In fact, in machine learning, it's rhyming it. Pretty nice. In structural intelligence, it's contextually born. In machine learning, the context is slapped on.
Thanks, Tikibur. So this is the second use stage that we are working here. We have a partnership, one of the big value-added resellers in the world for SHI. And we reviewed this in the lab, and they are discussing a partnership with both Outspike as well as SHI to take this to market. This is something which we found very interesting. The same data that we measure in IT networks is also useful, extremely useful for threat detection, for identifying those sort of problems which are hard to tap from machine learning or conventional rules specified. So to kind of give you a shorter version of the demo, we took this data set is a real data set, which is basically this is an IoT network. So we took the real data set. Again, just like the previous problem, we were just measuring bytes of data that goes between different devices, just looking at real-time traffic. And then this data set also had benchmarks on when did the conventional alarms fire and when did the ML models actually fire. So we wanted to benchmark it against this, and we're writing a paper based on this as well. There's something very interesting that we found when we applied structural intelligence was that we just do a quick simulation of this. It takes about 2 minutes. So the way I organize the data is we have about 230 ticks of information, and every tick is like some 30 seconds, but I'm going to run it at 5 times the speed. So you will see that in a short 60 seconds. So yeah. Okay, the simulation is started. You can see all of these different structural operators, again, topological integrity, flow equilibrium, risk corridor formation. These are all the different structural measures for cybersecurity. You can see a first structural alert actually coming. While on the conventional side, there's nothing so far. But what you see in the green at the top is some of the structural operators are firing currently. This is just simulation which will let in a couple of seconds because I'm kind of putting it in accelerated mode. And we're almost done. So it's at real time, it's measuring all of those. As the telemetry is actually coming in at real time. And remember, there's no machine learning. I did train it on a leap aspect. It's at real time, there's something. Alright. Now, the simulation is complete. Now we can see the structural problem first detected the problem 40 point clicks before any conventional alarm or any ML base. And all these results are available in Asperpa. Any of them, even the first conventional alarm actually fired, the structural topology did about 42 minutes when the problem actually just started. So which means, and what it did, you can see that isolated that Modbus TCP, right? That Modbus TCP is basically like a sort of between an IT network and the IoT network, you have this kind of in between both these. So detected a threat. We went and isolated. I mean, I don't have an agent here, but in reality, in a production system, I could identify a threat. I could use agents, isolate the network, everything, even before an attack is even through. That was very interesting result for us because when we looked at the data, there's a really nice data set which was created in which all stages of the attack are before an attack, while the attack is going on, attack is progressing in the football side. And what really surprised us more, if you compare explainability side, so what we did, we also wrote explainability code, why the structural alerts actually find, then you actually explain what it should be. So I have in this data set, I have an explanation for letters. Now, here is a interesting how, of course, to integrate some of these operators, you can see that. Yes. I just read just to show you how the entire explainers to one napkin it breaks. This is what is being generated by I have used an LLM to explain, interpret these structural operators and what's really happening by the alarm fire. It says the network started doing the collision at tick 60, you notice the overall network is becoming less tightly connected. Fridge and the weather sensor were drifting to the basically not because the vendor offline, because that's an attacker scanning the activity is subtly changing how traffic flow between them. These are not the things with ML is actually really good at catching. Everything subtle happening between devices which does not fire any alarm, does not trigger an ML model, with a bit of structurally casted must be could actually catch. The node single device looked abnormal, but the network as a whole was deepening like a spider web. Of course, there is some point is especially
when Israel took out the entire Iranian military, you know how they did it, right? They had CCTV cameras. You would probably know about it. They had CCTV cameras. Israelis logged into the CCTV cameras, monitored where Iranian leadership was and bomb was. From a guide agents review, they logged into CCTV cameras. IoT network. They did not know the Israelis were sitting there. How would they know? They're not structured. They're looking at old patterns. They don't have APT attack that's happening on the IoT network right there. But if it was structural intelligence, we would know that there is activity happening on those CCTV cameras. I'm not saying Israel is good or Iran is bad or from something like that. I'm just saying that is an IoT network Imagine the strategic importance of this. Israel took out the entire Iranian top brass by hacking through the IIT network. But it's not just nothing. It's Internet of Things network, cameras, fridges. That's how they came.
So what you can see here, important thing is, basic structural metrics is saying it has network stack of 15% weaker than what it was 30 seconds. And the analysis of why it is weaker is because of this. The weather sensor drifting or gateway not because they went offline, because it spotted a scanning activity that was subtly.
Why is it losing collision? The fridge and the weather sensor were drifting away from the gateway, not because they went offline. They were not offline. But because an attacker's scanning activity was subtly changing how traffic flowed between the devices. Nobody can detect this. No one.
No, imagine the way machine learning would give an explanation. You have some kind of line frame or some kind of a sharpie. But if you're not playing this or a copy or that's a big different description. Now I think it did keep going and the level of explanation really is. I mean, I was pretty blown when I heard the other explanation. Of course, what I did, I put the interpretation by LLM. It wrote some poetry and like the swipes, spiders were losing strands, a little bit poetic. But it's actually it just desperately go. So for example, the second at least to the 86, it says a fridge used to send temperature telemetry to the gateway every few seconds, a steady positive flow of data outward at the gateway that flows. The fridge was now receiving data, command and control instructions from the NIRA pocket. So it has only figured out its NIRA pattern as we are at this stage. But setting nothing, it began to say, absorbing traffic like a backbone by tick 93, this hassle was sustained enough to confirm the fridge is compromised and silently under. And it is also giving you how the reward gets and numbers. And so I keep going up, but essentially this is how it works in cyber security threat edge. Exactly the same data that we use for IT intelligent network management is exactly the same data used for threat detection. So this was the second.
So it's very, very advanced anomaly detection. Very, very advanced physics-based anomaly and math-based anomaly detection. It's very established anomaly detector.
Step 2 addiction.
Yeah. Absolutely. It will tell you what you need to do. Isolate it. Get isolated to it. Yes. I mean, yeah.
And for that, we need some kind of agent. You need some kind of actuation. See, for example, one is to detect a threat, but to neutralize a threat, you need to know what is my impact area, last area. Right? If I need to isolate, there is needed agent to go and isolate for that part of it. It's absolutely positive.
If you saw the IT management, the network intelligence management before this, we actually isolated. You can isolate here also. Just there's an agent in the background under the control of structural intelligence, it will isolate. They should block it.
Add to the usefulness.
It's a complete decision fabric. Whether you want to automate action on the decisions or not automate, you want to keep human in the loop or not keep human in the loop is something that you decide. System is capable. System is simple technology. Once decision is identified, functional intelligence fabric tells you this is a situation. You can say, I don't need human in the loop. Or you can say, no, I need a human in the loop. Practice scenario, you put human in the loop. Chal raha hai.
This pep your response.
Immediately, we are looking at something revolutionary. It's a paradigm shift.
But I wouldn't say that to a client. I wouldn't say it to a customer or between yourself.
No, I think there's people, they move slowly. Dinesh, people will move slowly. They want to be showy, which is okay.
But say, for a few months, you do all your impact and answer, you go to the basis for making on your ID report series. And then, PCs over if you want to test some other disease. Because see, some of these are extremely expensive products. Like for example, Tufin, AlgoSec, there are some of the record management products that they use. It's expensive, like tens of millions of dollars each month. But let's take AlgoSec. Sort by start AlgoSec. And they are getting a view whether you want it. Their snapshot of view of the network is become big business. They don't know. They're flying blind actually between one refresh to the other refresh.
We are talking about banks with thousands of ATMs. There's one week who is not just some random shop in the pick up about banks with thousands and thousands of ATMs. They're getting a view every 1 week. How are they short of money? The technology doesn't exist.
But however, I mean, see, we are saying real time. So we told them, give us traffic every 5 or 50 gigs. Now, this is just a small demo with 60 devices and about 170 connections to devices. But if you take a million in network, you obviously going to need much more hardware to, let's say, compute in a few seconds. Even if you take a few minutes to cover you, that still saves you so many hours of manual analysis, people sitting together for meeting sets. Still what?
But compute is half of your problem. The capabilities don't exist in machine learning in AI. They don't exist. For example, the organized crime. Organized crime means there are hundreds of loads coming from hundreds of different places, organized in such a way. Machine learning doesn't have the capability to detect it. In the benchmarks that we run, machine learning, neural networks, and random forest, which are the very algorithms, their efficiency was 12% to 20%. On only 33,000 records, efficiency of structural intelligence is 87%. 87% efficacy. They are not meant to, because they are because structural intelligence is structural in nature. It is much more suited to very complicated problem, which is the rural career.
I'll just take a few more minutes. I just got one last use is not related, but I just want to talk to the literacy abilities person. Can we see your screen refresh?
Can you, Mike, can you see the screen refresh? Screen refresh is not happening. Could you kuch ho raha hai?
Your mic लीजिए.
Hey, someone, you need to mute your mic. All right, thank you.
Okay, this is a very interesting. We signed this man. Yeah, we signed a partnership with a European company, which is basically hardware. Now, CUDA is something which is for included to machine learning. This is like a bread and butter. Like you work with CUDA with it. Basically, think of it like a software that allows data scientists to use the compute power, basically GPs or AI. So this. Now, interestingly, CUDA also was written by one of my friends in the US. We used to work in NVIDIA, then went to Facebook, and then after Facebook, now it turned another company. We have a friend who basically wrote the first version of CUDA. Now, I've been talking to him for quite some time, talking about, okay, I've got this new structural intelligence approach. Can I try to improve your CUDA? So I got a lot of inputs from him on how we had actually exactly prepared and all. So I suggested some about 6 innovations based on which it would improve the utilization, we could improve the localization, improve the pattern. So with this European company, what we're doing is they're designing ES solvences, right from chip level all the way to application. They're not directly up to the NVIDIA. It's a European hardware company. So then we started talking to them. I said, okay, look, they don't obviously have something as the mature as CUDA. They said, okay, can you help us write a CUDA sort of a lay? So there is a proposal that we are currently working on, where we're going to completely reword CUDA ground up and do it in mass production. These in about 5 or 6 innovations. I'll talk to you about some of what
I just, before Sohanji gets started on this, CUDA, NVIDIA is the $4 trillion company. $4 trillion. It's the it's the most market cap company in the entire world. And CUDA is responsible for how they market cap. Like we are talking about a value estimate that's driving today $2 trillion of value in the market. So when Sohanji mentions NVIDIA, he's mentioning CUDA. We are talking about systems that are very, very complicated.
Yeah, no, CUDA has been around for 18 years. They've had a lot of time to perfect CUDA. And it has a lot of flaws, but still sort of the gold standard in today for using the compute, right? Data scientists kind of live by this well. So, and let me talk to you just about a couple of innovations that we are working with them. We came up with kind of a better kind of a scheduler. See, in this scheduler, one of the things with the ULA Bandanis, there is a lot of inefficiency in terms of they basically divided threads in groups of state and 32 a group of threads. And the way I designed it, it's like, okay, if I give you an analogy in an airport queue, like if you had, let's say, 32 queues in an airport, and you're stocking all of the queue to the bus of a trailing source asset. Okay, the correct solution would be to, let's say, take all of the guys who was very super slow, put them into circuit to let the other controllers pass up. That actually has improved.
So this is one of the things I discussed with the original product leader. This makes sense actually, because this should actually improve some of these all these numbers that we see here. It can significantly improve some of my numbers. And I'll not go into each one of it. Later we might say
These are the cycles save, yeah, which is how much it is saving over and above for food orders.
Oh, my system. Now the second one, which is again really interesting. Again, the way CUDA works today, it changes. Suppose we are, let's say you had a GP cluster, multiple GP. We'll normally change it into a, and then its workload which move from one a GPU to the other GPU through NVLink. It kind of a sequential. So I said we use a geodesic processing cluster, in which instead of putting these in a chain, let's put it into this kind of a structure web and not more than 1.6 and up, so that all the latency because of workload moving from one chain to the other chain is actually significant. So this was the second innovation that we are kind of improving on in terms of product. Here's a third one. I'll talk about it and we'll end with this. This is actually from machine learning works, basically called physics inspired neural networks. And here what we are doing is something very interesting. You know, all these big problems, like say climate change problems and all these huge problems that you want to solve with enormous amount of petabytes of data and the kind of compute that you need. One of those operators which they use is something called the Laplacian operator. It's a kind of second order gradient. Now what I'm proposing is at the chip level, this operator is extremely important. Like natively how you calculate, let's say, an addition or multiplication. Let's have a Laplacian. Let's implement Laplacian at the chip. That's innovation. I mean, this is something which is getting right down to the chip, not just reverting your entire CUDA stack, but at the chip level, let's support Laplacian. That is very useful for problems which are climate change. That is one of those, huge problems that you are dealing with. Or even drop this or these.
If for example, this is semiconductor player, which could be the case, in your scenario, we can look at the semiconductor designs and we can tell you what will work for your specific use, right? For that specific use case, right? So I think we lost everybody in the discussion because this is so technical that you will not really understand it. But this is really deep stuff, right? Inside the chip, how things can be done. I think you will understand it, Harshanji and Priyanji, that is the level to which you can go and analyze stuff. Did you understand? No, we give about the.
Ladies, sit. Low worries. Offer goals will.
Let me make one statement, Guruji's statement. I'm going to say Param Pujya Rashtriya Shishya Swarup Rashidhari's statement. You name it, SI can do it. The question is not about can it do. Question is how clear are you about the problem set. This is Guruji's divine words. You name it, structured intelligence can do it. Obviously, with the inspiration, the root, the generation of this is Rashtriya Shishya Guru, Parakuli, Unika Brahmishi Tattva. This entire thing is achieved in the Brahmishi Tattva. It's not human. I am a full-fledged technologist. I love quantum mechanics. I love physics. And Steve did it. But I'm telling you, I can't get my answer. This is not real. This is unreal stuff. So only way to explain it's divine. You name it. How clarity do you have? Aside with it. Those are his words. You name it, as I can.
Yeah. I think just want to end with this. Thank you for a patient attention. I know this might have got a little abstract for many of you. I hope you enjoyed the demo. I just wanted to show that when a rubber meets the road, there are a lot of deep problems that you can solve, and wanted to give you examples of actual real problem that we are solving, particularly address. And like Pradeep said, I think it's been a result of Guruji's guidance of the last 10 years. And it's been a long journey for us getting this. It has involved satsangs, it has involved philosophical discussion, it involved discussions into spirituality. And the late I was dedicating Harshan yesterday is when we're questioning the very basis of intelligence and not taking an anthropocentric view of the world, how do you look at intelligence and why can't we use how nature is intelligent? This is an attempt at that. How do you make nature intelligent? Because nature at different levels, different kinds of laws work. And can we apply this to actual AI to come with an alternative vision for how AI should be a lot more deterministic, a lot more explainable, and something that you can work at real time, and which kind of mimics intelligence in a much more, I would say, closer way, in a much closer way to real intelligence. Because in machine learning always had the challenge that you go offline and train, and then put it on production, then you use backpropagation and all those backdrop cycles. I somehow always had that true intelligence can be actually working with that. Okay, that's a good adaptive representation, but maybe something that's much beyond.
I think this will maybe conclude by saying that what we are seeing right now in terms of our understanding where we are is we are the tip of the iceberg. This is really the tip of the iceberg. Everything is underway. It depends on what kind of problem statement we get and how we expose the entire iceberg. It will depend on all of our collaboration together. Because physics can be applied and maths can be applied in problem statement. It's the question is how do you challenge?
Yeah, any question?
Awesome. Well, Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you everyone. Now before we go, see, this is for some, it might be we meet today and we might never meet again. For some, it might be we meet a few times. But for a few, and you're only actually after a few, we're not after everyone. Because when you have to build something huge, the time is of value. We don't have time. We are aligned what we want to show you. We are okay, and I'm hoping that you only capture 1% of what we share. Right? It is not the technology. It is not the data, but it is a divine energy which is so clear and guiding all of us. So the future, as I said, either we're aligned to the future and the one that is reorganizing the future, or we're disaligned. Again, right? So as the curve goes, only 2 to 5% of the people in this decade will rise like crazy. This is not a decade of wealth creation. It's a decade of destruction, a lot of chaos, a lot of loss. Many of Guruji's world, many of the corporates which are mega today will not exist by the end of 10 years. Russia, USSR, all it took was 10 years for it to dismantle. UK, Europe, they were leaders by 1910, by 1915. Lot of that was up in the air, right? UK, again a legend, America to go. This regional jump, this mega shift that is happening, if we are getting this decimal insight, let's take it very, very seriously. Now, what we would like to inspire you is what you have with you, SHIV. It is extremely valuable. So, Arjun, trust me, there's nothing that you could have done that brought you here. Thousands of people tried to come there, right? So clearly there is divinity in us. Let's forget who we represent in organizations. We as people who meant to be here because something in our lives is holding us back from reaching our own potential. So is our own journey. So this shift day, if you respect it, is a divinely chart. A very quick example before we go. So 500 years ago, Sindhs of Gwalior and Aurangzeb, they were richest in the world. Aurangzeb's generations today are begging, right, on streets all over India. However, Sindhs have remained royal and only grown. Whereas if we see the royal families are disappearing around the world, right? How is that? So Sindhs were gifted, were blessed, a divine shielding, a divine astral chart, Brahmastra. And it was said that till the time stays in your family and you pray to it, you surrender all your chances to it, you will continue to be at the peak state. So it was the nobles, the British Empire, Congress, BJP, anyone, you see they are at the peak state. What you have today will reinforce. If you walk 15 days barefoot and climb the impossible heights of Kailash, and then if Bhagwan Shiv blesses you with divine Nadak, This is that SHIV page. Any problems, Guruji's words, any problems you have, again, not your greed, but anything that is truly troubling you, please surrender it to the SHIV page. And just see how that comes. The second blessing is this divine pen. There are seeds in the back of it. These seeds are an opportunity. We all seek a Kalpavriksh in our life. Kalpavriksh is something that leads prosperity in our homes and purpose away. So plant these seeds if you wish in your home, in your office, or in your life. If this is coming in a hand, clearly there is a lesser prosperity coming to you. As it thrives, so will you and your family for generations. Right? So our inspiration to everyone is we are again going to Assam to do CEI Summit, Ludhiana, Himachal, wherever CEI Global Dutch Patient Summit will go, Singapore, Abu Dhabi, right? One thing that coming for control, right? So Switzerland, so everywhere people are hungry, people are calling us. 28 states in the country, 8 union territories, 790 districts. When growth has to come into Bharat, it has to go into every district, every city, every state, every union territory. And whoever wishes to play a role, this is the beginning. We will love to spend time with you. If you're serious, only if you're serious. Please don't waste your time or anyone's time. Because everyone here is a very fast track journey, you don't have time. Right? We know what we are after and we know what we are delivering to them. Right. So on that note, please again, Adunay Viruji and Vikas ji. So, please on the way out, there are some divine blessings for you. Please collect them in blessings from Guruji. And we are hoping that for those of you who see a long-term mega partnership in doing fundamentally kick and building global leaders, we look forward to it. Om Namaः Shivaya. Om Namaः Shivaya.